Good evening, folks. Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, Z Handsome Liberal, depending on who you ask, of course. Um, like I said, I took a day off yesterday, and that doesn't mean shit in terms of what's going on in the world. So usually when I'm not on for one day, the next day there's all sorts of things to talk about, and this is no exception. So I'll just go ahead and dive right into it. And as we're discussing some of this stuff and going through the monologue, I will ask you folks that are watching us on TikTok, certainly tap the screen. Blue One Banks. That's the earliest galaxy I think I've ever received. Blue One Banks. Thank you very much. That's definitely record breaking. I appreciate that. So while we are going through this monologue, certainly tap the screen so we'll be ready at 10,000. So what I do want to talk about, and you see the title of the live stream, Proud American Supremacist. Now, I know some folks are not going to like me using this term or try to suggest that I am, I don't know, clickbait or some other term or some other terminology for why I have that on my screen. But make no mistake about it, this is what I'm thinking. This is what my analysis is coming to that conclusion. And I'm going to be asking you throughout the show, are we indeed as a nation behaving like American supremacists? And I'll explain it to you in detail so you understand it's not just coming out of left field. So, what I want to get into right off the bat, before we get into the whole notion of the idea that Americans are somehow, some way behaving like they are American supremacists, we got other drama going on. Now, President Trump left up to his own devices again with the Iran war. Shit's going down, and President Trump is, of course, making some strong threats. I want you to hear this straight off of GMA, Good Morning America, if I can cue it up.
3,700 casualties since February.
We do it because we have to do it because we cannot let Iran do it.
But despite bombardment of Iran, they aren't backing
Okay,
down.
I'm going to rewind it a couple seconds because it sounded like it was kind of freezing there.
But despite the U.S. bombardment of Iran, they aren't backing down, once again threatening oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. And in Iraq, American forces on alert after sanctions rocked Erbil. President Trump responding with a stark warning that for every Iranian strike on a ship in the Strait of Hormuz, the U.S. will bomb and destroy or power plant inside Iran. Deliberately targeting civilian infrastructure is a potential war crime under international law. Meanwhile, President Trump said
now, and I want to play a little bit more of this. I don't. My computer still, I guess, is downloading and processing because this clip was not frozen when I prepared for the program, so I don't know why it's hesitating like that. But you hear President Trump is promising that for every ship Iran targets in the Strait of Hormuz, he's going to blow up a bridge or a power plant in Iran. Now, I want to tackle this from a standpoint of obviously everyone that drives across a bridge or works at a power plant is not in the Iranian military. So this is obviously a direct targeting of Iranian civilians. So I'm going to be asking you guys as part of this discussion, do you support to get the Strait of Hormuz back under control? Do you support President Trump's actions in deliberately targeting Iranian civilians? There's no doubt he's going to be killing Iranians by doing this. Everybody that crosses a bridge or works at a power plant is not an Iranian military personnel. Those are civilians. In America, we don't have many military personnel working at power plants. Almost all of our power plants are operated by civilians. So if you go around taking out power plants in America, that's nothing but civilian targets. Not to mention all the folks that receive the power are also civilians. And the folks who use the power are also civilians. Whether we're talking hospitals, folks, their homes, their refrigerators, pacemakers, you name it. All of that stuff is coming from power plants. So this is all civilian targeting. Do you support, as Trump is saying, do you support targeting civilian infrastructure to as retaliation for Iranians bombing ships in the Strait? So we're going to talk about that. And I see Army vet says, I do. And you're not alone. I do believe there's a lot of folks that support killing the Iranian citizens in addition to the military. So you're not alone in that. Listen, I will add this on because we asked this on a live, I think the other day when we did a live, in regards to the Iranian school full of children, full of girls that was blown up. We asked the question, do you believe the Trump administration knew that school was loaded with children, knew it was a school? Do you believe the Trump administration knew that was a school and blew it up anyway? Now, a lot of folks said no. Fair enough. I don't believe that the Trump administration deliberately targeted a school full of children either. However, if he is now making open threats to target civilian infrastructure, I'm starting to wonder if it's not possible that he would have done it then. It's pretty clear that he does not mind killing civilians to make a point. He's doing it now. So I don't know what's the difference between now and a few months ago. If you do it now, there's a good likelihood that he would have done it then. So I'm one of the individuals that pushed back against some of my liberals in the audience and said, I don't think Trump would deliberately bomb a school full of children. But now that he's openly stating that he's willing to blow up civilian targets that are operated by pretty much nothing but civilians. So he clearly does not mind killing civilians to make a point. So I'm going to change my vote and say it's very possible he may have known that school had children in it and done it, just because of what he's talking about here. But continuing on, asking, like I said, today's live is going to be asking the question of, are we behaving as American supremacists? Jay Sid said, I talked to a pilot. He told me you can see details. What sort of details, Jay said? I'd be curious to know what sort of details are you talking about? But continuing on with Trump threatening infrastructure, we're going to be certainly asking you folks, in addition to one of my viewers that already said he supports blowing up Iranian citizens, but I want to ask the rest of you folks. Also, President Trump made a statement. I mean, he always makes statements, but this one here, in my opinion, takes the cake because I don't understand what is the purpose of this. And maybe once again, some of you folks will let me know if you agree or disagree with this statement from our commander-in-chief.
Last night, the Canada tariffs. One, are those a response to the wildfires in?
No, that's separate. We're looking at that separate.
And what, is there anything Canada
It's only
can do?
response to the way they've treated our farmers and our people.
Now, real quick, he's discussing the nation of Canada. Remember, he imposed a 50% increase in tariffs on Canada because they are dealing with a wildfire crisis. And thank you for that TikTok cap, Lisa. Appreciate it. They're dealing with wildfires. And the fires are obviously putting out a lot of smoke into the atmosphere, and that is coming into the United States and heavily polluting major metropolitan cities here in the U.S. And Trump is blaming Canada for not being able to prevent that. So in retaliation against one of our long-term allies, he imposed a 50% additional tariff on Canada. He is being questioned here, and he's going to make a very strong statement that I want to get your opinion of whether you agree with this or not. This is in regards to Canada, our neighbor to the north.
Separately.
And what, is there anything Canada
It's only
can do?
response to the way they've treated our farmers and our people. Canada's been very, very tough on us over the years, for many years, and no other president's done anything about it. I love Canada. I love the people of Canada. Many friends that live in Canada, but their leadership from Trudeau to the current leadership, I mean, in all fairness to them, they need us to survive. Without us, there's no way they can survive.
And that's what I want to talk to you about. And I'll just ask you right off the bat in the comment, by way of yes or no in the comments, how many of you agree with Trump that without America, Canada could not survive. How many of you agree with that? That if America either ceased to exist or we became a significantly weaker power, the nation of Canada would go away, would cease to exist. You hear Trump saying, without us, they cannot survive. That's a strong statement. I'll play the quick clip again.
Our leadership, I mean, in all fairness to them, they need us to survive. Without us, there's no way they can survive. So, but they've been very, very tough over a period of the last.
And he goes on and says they've been tough to us. I actually looked in the comment section of a couple of these videos when I was researching this for the program, and the Canadian citizens are pissed. I saw one individual that stated, "We will never forget this, Americans." And it had thousands of likes on it. Thousands of likes. Other comments said things like, "The people to the north never forget this type of action." The Canadians are pissed. All sorts of buy Canadian slogans in the comments and everything. They are very angry about this. The notion that Trump not only imposed a 50% tariff on them, but is claiming that their country could not even exist without us. That's why I'm asking that question. Are we behaving as American supremacists? Because in addition to Canada, President Trump has made a similar statement, and I want you to, if I can cue this one up right, to me this statement is almost just like that one. This was made a few months back.
I'm the one that got, and the Secretary General was here, as you know, 2 weeks ago, saying that if it weren't for me, NATO wouldn't even exist right now, because I raised from countries that weren't paying their bills. At that time, 28 countries, 20 of them were not paying their bills, 21.
So he's suggesting that, this was a few months ago, so not only has he suggested that Canada wouldn't survive without us, he's also saying NATO would not be around if it wasn't for him. So we're going to be talking about this from a standpoint of, is the nation of the United States, are we the glue that holds the world together? In other words, without the United States, the world would cease to function as we know it. We're talking about from a standpoint of, are we practicing or behaving in a manner of American supremacy? But continuing on, there's a lot here, folks. I'm gonna get us up to 10,000. We'll take the first caller, but there's a lot because I took a day off and shit just got out of control coming from Trump. But I want you to hear the second part of this in regards to President Trump. Not only is he talking about targeting civilian targets in Iran, but listen to this, because this has really got a lot of Americans upset from another major terroristic event we went through on September 11th.
Well, President Trump saying that the nuclear deal the U.S. struck with Saudi Arabia yesterday is now contingent on them joining the Abraham Accords, meaning normalization of relations with Israel. The U.S. would then help the Saudis develop a civil nuclear program. 9/11 families had urged the White House not to sign the deal, while litigation over Saudi Arabia's alleged ties to the 9/11 terrorist attacks is still in federal court.
So I want to ask you folks this. Now, many folks believe that the only reason, I'm going to take it all the way back to Saddam Hussein in Iraq. Many folks believe that the only reason we thought that Saddam Hussein in Iraq had weapons of mass destruction is because we potentially gave them those weapons in previous years. Others would say that the only reason the Ayatollah, which became a big enemy of ours, leading to Trump pretty much killing them all, but the only reason the Ayatollah rose to power in Iran is because of American interference in that region. I'm going to ask you guys a tough question. What are the chances that many of our future men and women in uniform, we're talking about the military, what are the chances that our men and women in the future in uniform will find themselves in a military conflict against Saudi Arabia because the commander-in-chief at that time in the future will be accusing the Saudis of enriching this material beyond what it takes to provide energy to their country? That's exactly what we're dealing with Iran, folks. That is exactly what the debate with Iran is. They're not using the uranium for energy. They're trying to enrich it for weaponry. We're going to allow the Saudis to be in that exact same position via Trump. So now in the future, if our relationship with the Saudis deteriorates for any reason or other, and by the way, we haven't had a good relationship with the Saudis until Trump came along. Whether we're talking about all of the human rights abuses, women have essentially no freedom or autonomy in Saudi Arabia. We can talk about, like I said, Khashoggi getting hacked to pieces, a journalist. We have not had a strong relationship with the Saudis until President Trump came along. So if for some reason our relationship begins to take a backslip, what are the chances some future president of this great nation could end up threatening the nation of Saudi Arabia, saying that you guys are not just using that stuff for the purpose of energy. You're trying to make it weapons grade. Is President Trump not learning from history? I mean, this is literally why he's attacking Iran, for the exact same reason. So I do want to end up talking about that. And I see in the comments, Tamar says, because they are paying him. So what are you suggesting, that President Trump is taking a personal advantageous paycheck from the Saudis to potentially put the future sovereignty of our nation at risk? That could lead to another conflict with Saudi Arabia? Is that what you're suggesting? Wow. So in addition to that, tap the screen, get us up to 10,000. We'll take the first caller. If you're watching us on YouTube, certainly smash that like button. It helps out the algorithm. And of course, you know I want to bring in more MAGA. That's what happens when you smash that like button on YouTube. In addition to this, to me, the Saudi thing is really something that will likely be discussed in the future. This last one is somewhat concerning towards the Democrat Party. And I'll start taking callers and going to the comments. This is the last of the topics. You guys all know who Dan Abrams is, likely. Used to host Live PD on A&E. He's been on Good Morning America. He had his own primetime show on News Nation. He's fairly well known for those who pay attention to politics. Dan Abrams, and he's also an attorney, so he's also answered questions in regards to stuff like that. But nevertheless, I want you to hear something he says, and he is not MAGA. He is not MAGA by any means at all, but I want you to hear something because this could be concerning for the Democrat Party.
Can't just be focused on being angry at Donald Trump's extremism. You also have to be focused on A, the things the administration does right, and B, the things that Democrats are doing wrong. And I have to tell you, I am starting to think that the Democrats could end up blowing the midterm elections based on left-wing extremism. It's not the same. They don't have the kind of power that Donald Trump has, et cetera. But I'm going to be talking about that. Excuse me.
And this is an hour-long show. I'm not going into how he explains it, but I want to ask you folks, do you believe the Democrat Party is indeed propelling too many, I suppose, far left or extremist candidates to high positions of leadership? And make no mistake about it, when we talk about extremists on the left, it's Mamdani. It's Mamdani. That is literally the elephant in the room of who Abrams is talking about, who Trump is talking about, et cetera, et cetera. Mamdani and possibly the likes of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And I say that because most of the candidates on the left are not running socialist or running as a communist or any of this other shit. It's a few of them, but they are gaining a lot of traction. So I'm asking that question, do you agree with Dan Abrams that the Democrats could end up snatching defeat from the jaws of victory because they're propelling too many extremist candidates to the forefront? And I also want to ask this before I start taking callers and get us up to 10,000. We'll take the first caller. the other question I want to ask is, do the Democrat Party judge their candidates differently? Because fact is, the Trump administration are running on many extreme issues. The Trump administration is not running as a moderate entity. They're running as a far right party. And fact is, Trump is loved by his party. So I don't understand why, if the Democrats are propelling far left candidates, why would it be different? Because Trump is running as a far right candidate. He's actually definitely doing some things that are considerably far more extreme than any other right-wing politician we've seen probably in our lifetime. And we'll go into that. So you guys know how the program is ran. We don't block, ban, or censor. We're talking about, are we behaving as American supremacists? Strong term. We don't block, ban, or censor. We are MAGA friendly, always have been, always will remain that way. Your comments can come in left of Mom Donnie to I'm having dinner with Q. We don't censor people because they have a difference of opinion, no matter where the hell on the political spectrum they may lie. That's how free speech works. We don't limit your time or censor you. If you want to be a live caller, Instagram, TikTok, Clapper, or Substack, the Handsome Liberal is the same name on all platforms. We bring callers up no matter what your political affiliation is. So looking in the comments, right off the bat, not promoting candidates like AOC. But I have to ask, what's the difference between AOC to the left and, many folks that are on the right that are just as far to the right? Are the Democrats, I suppose, holding themselves to a higher account in terms of trying to be moderate? Trump is not running as a moderate by any means at all. Trump is not there's nothing about President Trump that's moderate or toward the center. So what's the difference? Why is the left being criticized for being far to the left when the Trump administration is fairly far to the right? Looking at the comments, I've seen a couple pictures, but I'm not interested. I don't know what that means, but okay. Interesting, you have seen the video. Erica Kirk, the First Lady of Florida, merited. Okay, I don't know what that is even about. The loyalty to anybody who is in office is to the Constitution and your job that you swore to. All right, fair enough. Tim, Israel is reporting something big is going. What are you saying? I'm looking at News Nation. They're not reporting that. You're saying that Israel is reporting. Where the hell did that comment go? It moved away, but you're saying Israel is reporting something? I got the news on right now, and on News Nation, they're not saying that. So I'll if it comes up, I'll look. It's a distraction. Concentrate on the midterms. Well, everyone on the left is certainly concentrating on the midterms, but that doesn't mean the candidates may not be too extreme. We're still going to tackle that. In the box, we'll start off the program. Good evening, what is the name there?
Fat Sandwich. Damn, Handsome Liberal. I didn't think I'd get on with you.
Okay, apparently the app did it because I didn't know I brought you up, but we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. Are we behaving like proud American supremacists?
Say that again. Let's see. Let me look at your prompt. Proud American supremacists.
Yes. And I'm taking it from this standpoint. Trump just said within the last 24 hours that Canada could not survive without America. He also once said that NATO could not survive without America. So in other words, without America, the whole planet falls apart. Are we that supreme? What say you?
Well, I think that they probably survived without us before.
Yeah.
So I would have to say that I don't agree with that necessarily. Maybe with the way the economics are going right now, maybe a lot of their GDP is supported by us. But I think that I definitely think that most countries, if they didn't have to deal with all of the situations that we're in, they probably could survive without us.
Yeah. I suppose maybe he's talking about it from a military standpoint or something of that nature. I guess the question would be, why do you think Trump even believes that Canada would not survive without us?
Let's just say this. That motherfucker is crazy. We understand this, right? Like, Trump has got to be the most crazy motherfucker in the entire fucking planet right now.
Well,
And his supporters are worse.
You're disrespecting our president, sir. What do you mean he's crazy? He's the leader of the free world.
You're damn right I'm disrespecting him. He is probably the biggest joke that I can even think of in the world today, because the guy can barely even make a sentence now. He's like, oh, when the earth is shaking. He doesn't even know what an earthquake is. Earthquake.
You know, the funny thing is, I heard him say that about Venezuela the other day, and I was thinking, like, you don't know how to just call it an earthquake? I mean, he did seem like he was stumbling over that shit.
He calls Sleepy Joe. He is 80. He is not well right now. Like, he is definitely in the advanced stages, maybe not the further advanced stages, but he is having troubles. There is no doubt about that in my mind. He's stumbled over a lot of things, and his people will give him excuses for all this, but I mean, the writing is on the wall. This guy is not doing well right now.
But I gotta come to you.
If you count how many times he says, the biggest and the most. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Like, he's like, nobody's ever seen anything like that. He just repeats the same shit over and over.
But I gotta come to you with a strong whataboutism that my beloved MAGA are going to throw out there. Is he less coherent than Joe Biden? Because remember, they said Joe Biden couldn't string together a sentence.
It comes in different levels. I think Joe Biden definitely, I mean, at the end of his term, he was having some problems. I mean, I don't think necessarily that he was having problems mentally as far as being able to understand what he was thinking, but he was having trouble expressing it. I think Trump is literally having problems, I don't think he even knows what he's saying half the time. Like, I think he just is up there and he just talks, and whatever it gets into his head first, that's what comes out. And I think it is tough. I mean, like, I don't think anybody wants a president who is advanced in age enough that there's a question whether they're thinking with a full deck, because these people have the nuclear codes. And
so let me ask it to you this way, considering that both men are what they call octogenarians, or they're both 80 plus, and both of them have been accused of not necessarily being all there cognitively, but Trump is 3 years younger than Biden. Do you see America going from President Biden to President Trump as essentially no change, better or worse? Do you see that going to Trump was maybe an improvement, or going to Trump was actually a worsening condition?
Well, Biden had a conscience, whether he was flailing dementia or not. He has a conscience, to me, it seems. Donald Trump really doesn't, as far as I can tell. Donald Trump is just a straight narcissist. I mean, he really is just the kind of person who is only concerned about himself and his well-being. And I mean, that's the thing that's crazy to me, is that it seems like the whole time all of his supporters have said, oh, he's a businessman, he loves the United States, he does all this. I don't see that. I see everything he does is for him.
MAGA is still suggesting he's the GOAT, greatest of all time, though.
Yeah, but they can suggest anything they want, but I mean, they also will suggest a lot of things like that when he said, oh, no new wars, there are no new wars. There's only a conflict. This has been going on for 47 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, they just make excuses for him because they support him. And unfortunately, I mean, it's Republican versus Democrat right now, and it doesn't matter. the people who say that the Democrats are the evil people are going to be on the other side of the fence. They're going to be with the Republicans, no matter who's leading them.
Well, how about this? As opposed to being evil, what about too extreme? And in the comments, Jay said, I'll respond to your one U.S. female soldier was left in microscopic pieces. Is just her life worth it for Kenko's McGee? Ego, come on. Was it the one that was missing? I think he's saying that I think it was the Hispanic woman that was originally missing. They found her in pieces. I mean, she must have got hit direct from that Iran strike. But in regards to the nation of Iran, and that's terrible, Jay said, I kind of figured that out when they said they found human remains, that she must have got blown to bits. But I want to ask you, Fat, Trump is threatening for every ship that's struck in the Strait of Hormuz, he's going to blow up a bridge or power plant. Now, obviously, every person that crosses a bridge or everybody operating power plants are not military personnel. So this is a deliberate threat to kill innocent civilians. This is definitely that. But do you think it's a legitimate strategy to get control of the strait and get Iran to behave? Or do you see it like some folks are suggesting that it may actually be a war crime? What say you? Mojack, thank you for the hat and mustache. Appreciate that.
I mean, let's be honest. The greatest thing ever is there are no rules in love and war. So
that's not
if you're
true.
At war with somebody,
that's not. You can. What are you saying? You can't. What are you saying? You cannot commit a war crime?
Well, they say war crimes, it all depends on how everybody interprets it. I don't think that do we honestly believe that any of his administration is going to be brought up on charges of war crimes? I don't believe that. I don't think that will ever happen. I don't either. It's just a matter of fact of, do I think they should be? Maybe. I certainly think that there's probably been precedent in previous administrations that maybe, they've done things. I don't think you're supposed to be able to take out the head of a country, I didn't think. Yeah. But there you go. That's already been done, and I haven't heard a whole lot about the ramifications.
Well, that's because half of the country, and Brandon Johnson, appreciate the support. Thank you very much for the hat and mustache and TikTok cap. I think the issue is because half of our country, which are MAGA, or Republicans, even Republicans alike, but also half in the, Trump also controls the House and Senate. Most of them are going to let him do whatever. So you're not going to hear a lot of outcry no matter what Trump does, because that half of our country is remaining silent. Even when he threatened to totally end their civilization, for the most part, the right side of the aisle just kind of, the only way you're going to end the Iranian civilization is by using atomic weapons on them. And the right had nothing to say about that. So they're going to kind of let him do and behave in any way he wants.
But even if we used atomic, even if we used that type of weaponry on them, it wouldn't end their civilization. It would stunt it. Right now, you look at, we did that to Japan. Japan has come back, and Japan.
Yeah, but the weapons are a lot more powerful than they were in August of 1946, though. If you use the nukes they have now, that's going to be a hell of a lot bigger and more powerful than Nagasaki or Hiroshima.
Yeah, you would think so, but at the end of the day, a country doesn't do that to, especially to someone specifically like Iran. Like, if we were to do something like that to them, it would ruin the ability for us to even get any of their oil and stuff like that. Like, it would hurt us to do something like that to them.
Are we really getting their oil at all anyway?
I think that they have control over the way that the oil is distributed, possibly. Obviously, I don't know jack shit as far as.
Yeah, I don't think we don't need Iranian oil. It does affect the market though, but we're not really dealing with Iranian oil at all anyway. So, the
Middle East. If you look at it, the Middle East. There's many countries. Do you know who provides the most oil in the Middle East?
Saudis?
So that's possible. And I think that we just give them the ability to enrich uranium?
And that's crazy. That's a good point. Like, you got all the oil. Why do you need to enrich uranium? I mean, that's why I asked the question earlier. What are the chances that future generations of men and women in uniform are going to be in a military conflict with Saudi Arabia because a future president is going to be saying they're trying to enrich that shit to weapons grade? They don't need it. They got all the oil in the world. Why would they need? Why would they need nuclear power?
Right, and if you ask me, I mean, it's a very odd dichotomy, because religion over there seems to be, I mean, they have some very fanatical people. When you're willing to unalive yourself for your deity or whatever, that's a whole different level of fanaticism to me. So, unfortunately, we have this situation going on where I believe, we want Israel to be the person who speaks for everybody over in the Middle East, because we believe that possibly Bethlehem or the places in Israel are our, I'm not going to say our, I'm going to say the people that Christians believe is important.
Yeah.
And yet I have to believe that, the people over there have been fighting this battle for so long over the religious part that
that is not about to end anytime soon. But Fat, I do got to move it on. Yeah, that's not about to end anytime soon. So this ain't our first time talking, is it?
It is.
Wow. Well, I appreciate it.
I appreciate you having me up, and you have a good night.
You too. Don't be a stranger. Come on.
Just do me a favor.
Sure.
When who is it? MAGA
reacts.
Oh man, I'm telling you, if he's just like a goof and you guys are just going off like he disagrees with you and you agree, man, that's a great scam.
Oh my God! No, he believes. Listen, he believes what he says, and I believe what I say. No, we have genuine opinions that differ. So no, he believes that. I absolutely believe what I'm saying. Clickbait or likes and hats and mustaches or whatever the hell you want. But I believe what I'm saying. If I'm wrong, I will admit that. But I do believe what I'm saying. I got to move it on. No Fats. Come on back anytime, man.
Hey, thanks.
Anytime. All right, moving on with the program, and tap the screen, get us up to 30,000 likes, if you will. Helps out the algorithm, and certainly help you out with the hat mustache TikTok cap goals. Some of you have already done so. This is what I'm also talking about. Now, my last guest suggested that even if we did use nuclear weapons on Iran, it wouldn't destroy them entirely. And I agree with that. But here is once again President Trump, as I'm asking, and thank you, Blue One, Body Snatcher. Appreciate that. Thank you. And this is what I'm saying. This is President Trump, and this literally defines why the live stream is, are we behaving as American supremacists? This is Trump back in April after the F-15 military jets were shot down.
Went down deep inside enemy territory in Iran while participating in Operation Epic Fury, where we're doing unbelievably well at a level that nobody's ever seen before. The entire country could be taken out in one night, and that night might be tomorrow night. An American...
That's him suggesting that we could take out Iran in one single night. Now, I agree with my last caller. Even if we use atomic weapons on Iran, you're not going to... The country would continue to exist in some state. I mean, when you look at what Israel has done to Gaza, they're still there. And Gaza is a perfect example of what it looks like to bomb somebody to the Stone Age. They're still there. There's still hundreds of thousands of people still there. So Iran has like 90 million people. Is he suggesting we could wipe out 90 million people in a single night? There's no way that could possibly be done. But this is what I'm asking when I say, are we behaving as American supremacists? Because only an American supremacist would make a statement like that. You could knock out a country with 90 million people in one single night. That's that's a pretty strong statement to make. You'd have to be I want to say a fairly dominant country to be able to destroy a country with 90 million people in one single night. So not to say we can't beat Iran in an all out war, but doing it in one night, that's fucking amazing. Let me go back to the box. And I see in the comments, me too says white supremacists. Yikes. By the way, I saw Chris in the comments because, we're going to be talking about what's going on. And there's going to be a lot of this that's critical of President Trump. He's in the news. He's doing controversial shit. Chris is suggesting that, well, they're going to take your live down. Look, if we can't have conversations like this on TikTok, then we'll have them somewhere else. Look, I don't want to get to the point, even though I'm willing to give MAGA all the benefit of the doubt, I'm willing to give them time up uncensored and speak to them with respect like anyone else. I don't want to host a show where if you criticize Trump, you don't have a show. Then the show is not genuine. That's what many on the right are doing, where they're allowing him to do things that they've been criticizing Democrats for generations. And because it's him, they're keeping silent. Then that's not a genuine approach to anything. I'll criticize the shit out of Biden or Kamala Harris or Obama if they're doing something I disagree with. If you can't criticize the president, why not just say welcome to Pyongyang? You might as well be in North Korea if you can't do that. But I do agree that that is the goal by some folks in the administration. So looking in the comments, though, they don't want these convos, says Mike the Boss. Fair enough. But we need to have them until we get to that point. Otherwise, this could be 1930s Germany right now. I'm assuming he didn't want these conversations around that time as well. By 1940, it was illegal to have them. But you gotta nip it in the bud when you see it on the rise. So you don't just let that happen. Let me go back to the box. We'll make it happen with Jeremy. Good evening, Jeremy. Welcome to the program. War crimes obviously don't matter if committed by Yankee land. The sooner the U.S. is finished, the better for the world, says JQ. Well, I don't want the U.S. to be finished considering I live here, but I do agree with you that we probably are able to get away with atrocities that others may be held accountable for. JQ, I would love to know what country you're in. Jeremy, good evening.
Hey, Tim, how you doing?
I don't know on this one, man. I mean, are we behaving as American supremacists?
I'm tired. No, I'm sick of you saying us. Stop saying us. Trump is.
We voted in Trump. The world, hold on.
Care.
The world, wait, hold on, Jeremy. The world don't separate us as citizens from President Trump. No different.
I don't care what the world does.
Well, but that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about. If you don't care, then you're on the wrong show. We're asking this question.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying you're asking a dumb question.
It's not a dumb question.
The president is only one person. The whole point.
You think he believes this shit alone? Wait. You think he believes this shit alone? You said the president is one person. You think no one in the country agrees with him?
Just because, you've said it so many times, Tim. I'm he's losing support, or it's by a lot.
There's millions of MAGA out there.
Okay, there are millions of people who also voted for Kamala. What's your point?
I'm curious for my current viewers. If you're MAGA, put "I am MAGA" in the chat. I want to see some MAGA. So what you're telling me then?
Percentage.
Huh?
Look at the percentage.
Doesn't matter. It's millions of people, Jeremy. I agree it's less, but it's still millions of people.
So what? There are millions of people. There are 32 million people in the United States last time I checked.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's the president.
So if there's 3 million that are MAGA, that's less than 1%.
He's the president, though. It doesn't matter if it's 0.5%. That's who's making the decisions for the country.
You do realize is that we have separations of power for a reason, right?
Is that even being used and enforced?
Yes. The Supreme Court has knocked down several decisions that President Trump has wanted, including the stuff about birthright citizenship.
The same court that gave him immunity? That court?
Well, immunity from what? I don't recall.
That's the point. We don't know. That's the exact point. We don't know what they gave him immunity for. That's a good point. That's a good question.
I don't know what you're talking about, though.
They gave President Trump immunity while governing this nation. So we put it this way: he called E. Jean Carroll, the one that has had him viewed as liable in a court of law for sexually assaulting her. He called her all kinds of names while president, and he is suggesting that by being president with the immunity,
your strongest point. That's not a very good argument.
you didn't hear the end of it. The point I'm making is he believes that he has immunity to say that shit about her. So we don't know how much immunity he has.
What did he say that is not protected by free speech that I couldn't say? Like,
Defamation.
I don't even know if I would say the same things.
Defamation.
Well,
Defamation.
Okay, defamation.
Yeah.
Well, if it's really defamation, she could sue him for that.
She did sue him and she won. And he's actually appealing it.
But did she sue him for defamation?
Yes. She never went after him for rape.
Then what's the problem?
Because he is saying she should not be able to win. He's appealing it on the grounds that even if I defamed her, I did it while president and I have immunity.
Okay, Tim, you can't just throw these things that I've just heard for the first time ever.
Well, that's your fault. That sounds like a you problem. This has been in the news all day.
Like a you problem.
This has been in the news all day. Go ahead.
Tim, just because you're terminally online doesn't mean everyone else is.
I'm
There's
not.
this thing called a life, and I have it.
Okay.
I know.
So what brought you up then? If you don't care about whether he's a supremacist or not, what brought you up?
You do. Well, first off, you had many different topics we could have talked about.
What brought you up?
Okay.
Which topic?
Okay, we were talking about about Canada and whether or not his comments about Canada were right. But also, Tim, here's the thing. Okay, I would even be willing to entertain your little pet project here about America being a supremacist nation if you were to make better arguments.
What is your definition of a supremacist nation?
Where the overwhelming majority of people in the nation, both in power and who vote those in power, actually believe that stuff.
Yeah, that's not how I see this. We go by what the leadership says. If we say that Russia's a communist country, nobody takes in consideration what the people want. We take in consideration what the leadership is doing. Doesn't matter what the people want.
Well, wait, you're talking about the difference between an attitude versus an actual government.
I'm talking about the difference between how it is governed and how the people want. If the country, are we governing this country in a way that dictates American supremacy?
Well, the closest thing I could think of is how we're treating Iran. So I'll humor you here for a second. So the way we're treating Iran isn't particularly good. But the thing is, that's only because the president is the commander-in-chief. And so he kind of gets to do a lot of things that normally other politicians would push back on him for. So if it wasn't for that, I would say, no, we're not really acting like a supremacist nation. We're kind of bordering on that, but we haven't officially declared war. Although, if you look back at history, that's never stopped us from bombing a few places before.
Yeah, you do believe we're at war with Iran right now, right?
We haven't, unofficially, but yes.
Yeah, if you and I are hitting each other in the face just because somebody didn't yell out it's a fight, don't mean we're not fighting. Everything about what's going on between America and Iran is a war. Just because we didn't go to Congress has nothing. That just means Trump started the war by not going through the standard procedure in America. Everybody else around the world see that shit as a war.
Yeah, that's fine. The thing is, I really think you should rephrase the question is America acting, or better yet, is America's military acting imperialist or supremacist? Because to say a nation accuses the people in the nation, including regular civilians, of being supremacist.
Oh shit, I could go into things we're doing domestically as well, like erasing black history and shit. I mean, we're trying to do things to overturn this replacement theory.
You're accusing an entire nation of innocent
I'm
people
not,
who don't care about
yeah,
that stuff.
What you're trying to do, let me make something clear to you. Here's where you and I disagree. You're trying to somehow separate the nation you're trying to separate the people from the powers that's running the nation. That ain't how it works anywhere internationally. Whatever the power of that country is doing, we say that's what that country is for. We don't try. Well, the people is different. No, we don't ever do that. The people of Iran, we call Iran a terrorist nation. A lot of the people in that country don't agree with that. We don't separate them.
Okay, well, let's go. I don't agree with you, but let's just pretend that it's true for a second. Okay? So, if we pretend that that's true, well, then I would still disagree with you.
You think all the people in Iran want terrorism? Every one of them?
No, I didn't say that.
Then why don't you agree with it?
No, I'm saying I disagree with you about the idea that we don't separate the people from that stuff. So,
give me an example.
Let's talk about. Okay, so let's talk about this supposed erasing of Black history that you referred to. Can you give an example?
Oh my God! Everything from what is his name, Jackie Robinson, to Harriet Tubman exhibits. I mean, they've erased all kinds of things. There's tons of examples.
Last time I checked, there was a clerical error.
Mike, explain this to him while I'm bringing up the clip to demonstrate it. But go ahead, Mike. Good evening.
What's going on, Jim? Well, Jeremy's probably not going to understand, but I have a question, Jeremy, because it doesn't take the majority.
I don't really care about the questions. I'm talking to Tim.
Yeah, but I know, but I'm here now. That's
a normal, sweetheart. I don't care.
Yes, I know. But here's the thing, though. Here's the interesting part. The majority wasn't part of the smaller cost, right? The majority of people weren't complicit directly, were they?
Now bring up the clip, Tim.
I know you're not going to add to that, Jeremy, because you know that what you said was bullshit. The reality is you don't have to be the majority for atrocities to happen. You don't have to have the. Well, he'll let me know when he's ready.
Well, me and Daddy are talking. You can.
That's why it's called the Handsome Liberal Show, and not the
So
Jeremy
is his conversation too much for you, Jeremy?
No, he just has nothing interesting to add to the conversation.
You never have you even heard what he said?
I don't deal with the law.
So how do you know he has nothing to add? You haven't heard him.
You know what? I'll humor him. All right. So what do you want to say, kid?
Yeah, I know you're still stinging from the last time. I get it. I get it. Those webs are still showing. You said the majority. I'm simply saying back in Germany, it wasn't the majority.
That's a good point.
The majority elected Hitler himself.
No. It wasn't the majority that did the atrocities, which is why this is so similar to what happened then. Because the majority or the majority of the voters this time, since you guys like to say that, voted for Trump, just like the majority voted then, I'm just using it, but the majority didn't execute on the strategy and the atrocities that happened. It was a few 100,000 people, right? It was a few 100,000 people.
That is correct.
I would even tell you, even in America, when it came to slavery, majority of the people didn't own slaves, and there were a lot of whites that were abolitionists. That don't matter; it still happened for hundreds of years. So, yeah, when you start trying to separate the people from the government, I don't know how that washes, because pretty awful shit can still happen, even if you do have people in the country that don't want it.
Okay, so what's your point?
My point is what you were saying didn't make sense. But you really believe that getting rid of Black history is something you thought was a clerical error?
Yeah, wasn't there some clerical error that happened at one of the museums?
No, because it happened in so many places. It was not just. I'll give you the clip I was playing, and I want to get your opinion on this.
All right, sure, do it.
Starting in July. He writes, quote, I have determined that the Trump Kennedy Center, if temporarily closed for construction, revitalization, and complete rebuilding, can be, without question, the finest performing arts facility of its kind anywhere in the world. And that comes shortly after we learn there are no Black History Month events at the Kennedy Center, where, remember, in December, Trump added his own name, of course, to the building. And I suppose that's not much of a surprise when you look at how this administration has been treating Black history artifacts and figures.
Wait.
Which administration told the National Museum.
Wait, hold on. There's a lot of these. I want you, before you start tackling the first one, I want you to hear the rest of them.
American history and culture, to remove improper ideology and scrub exhibits that focus on systemic racism. Members of the administration have consistently minimized the horrors of slavery and discounted its foundational role in shaping America. Trump also removed memorials honoring enslaved people across the country. And it doesn't really stop at the museums. It's become pretty widespread. The Pentagon mistakenly removed and then had to restore after pushback Jackie Robinson's military biography. The same thing happened with Harriet Tubman's archives in the National Park Service. Trump also ordered national park gift shops to remove items promoting DEI, whatever that means at this point. On top of that, for weeks, he's been subjecting a black congresswoman, Ilhan Omar, to a consistent stream of attacks and racist rhetoric. And just this past week, his DOJ arrested 2 black journalists for their coverage of a protest in Minneapolis. And yet none of that will stop us from celebrating the
So, you think all that stuff was clerical errors?
So first off, I only care about the Jackie Robinson and Harriet Tubman thing. That's actually what I actually care about. I don't care about the DEI stuff.
Was that clerical errors? Why would he remove a Jackie Robinson exhibit?
Well, first off, we don't have the full context there because he was narrating and giving a very, very biased review of it. She said after.
What kind of context do you need? If it was, it either was removed or it wasn't.
Hold on. Everything needs context, Tim, because she could easily be lying by omission. Okay, she's probably omitting a lot of facts that if I looked up real quick would definitely not align with what she's saying.
Well, if that's the case, I will just, based on what you're saying, it wouldn't matter if they removed thousands of exhibits. You could always say, I don't know the context of it. I mean, you could throw that out. The stuff you guys say about Mom Donnie, well, you don't know the context of it. That's what happened with Charlie Kirk. You don't know the context of it. You can say that with anything.
You guys deliberately lied about, except your side deliberately lied about Charlie Kirk's words.
Except they did.
They didn't. Give me something Charlie Kirk said. Give me something Charlie Kirk said that was lying about.
Okay. I mean, you lied by omission by not including the full quotes about him saying that empathy is not a great thing.
What the fuck?
He said sympathy.
That's the best you can come up with? Out of all of the racist shit people have accused him of saying, you went to that?
What's wrong with that? That's just one example of many.
I don't know. I haven't even heard anybody say anything about him saying empathy. The quote you're talking about, to me, is all the racist shit he said. I haven't heard anything about this empathy thing you're talking about.
Well, I know racism is your little pet project, but that's okay.
Yeah. Hey, Tim, I feel like I'm on the game of like $10,000 pyramid. What would a Smonty say? Because here's the thing, Tim. All of these things, and Jeremy doesn't even realize, unless he does, that when I first came up, he was using the same sort of Smonty propaganda rhetoric with the low IQ thing.
You don't know
that's
directly. You don't know what fascists are.
Directly.
I understand that.
So now you're going to overtalk me. So now you're doing it.
Wait, Jeremy, you can rebut, but you know how this goes. Let him speak, then we'll give you time to correct it. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, and he's literally doing it, the over talking, the repeating the same rhetoric, the low IQ. That's literally from the Smonty playbook. And Tim, I'm not even saying somewhat out of the Smonty playbook. I'm saying directly out of the Smonty playbook. They use those terms, the rhetoric, the over talking, just if I say it long enough, you repeat it and you'll believe it. Low IQ. I mean, all of these things they've been saying are directly out of the Hitler playbook, but they try to make us seem like it's not and make us seem like we're the crazy person. See, here's the thing. When people like Jeremy ignore these things, they allow atrocities to happen. That's why we're sitting here today having these conversations.
What example? Give me an example of an atrocity you're suggesting it could happen if he continues down this path.
Well, I'll give you a perfect example. Tom Homan has an interview the other day and says, well, those people would have been alive if they just would have complied, and people agree with that shit. They just go, yeah, if they just would have done this, they would have been alive because they've been dehumanized already. See, they don't see them as humans. ICE literally pew-pewed a man in the face in the car. He was here legally. He had his child in the car. They pulled him out and put handcuffs on him. And you know what they say? Well, then they start pontificating, just like Jeremy just said. Well, I'm sure I can go find a reason to make this seem okay. That's what they do, Tim.
All right, let him respond now. Jeremy, what did you disagree with? Hang on, Jeremy. What'd you say, Mike?
No, I'm just saying he can respond to it.
Jeremy.
Okay, so I don't know about the most recent ICE shooting, but I called out the one about Alex Peretti. So go ahead and make all the accusations you want. But also, it's funny that you say this is out of the Nazi playbook, but you can actually say that word on here. Yeah, I'd like to know. Was this out of the doctrine of fascism? Was this out of any of what Giovanni Gentili wrote? Was this out of what book specifically that the Nazis actually published? Not some like historian communist that wrote like their interpretation of Nazi beliefs, but what specific writings? Oh wait,
I'm sorry. What do you mean? You mean who actually wrote them?
What was the specific one? Let's cite your source. Okay, this is something we learned in high school.
The one source?
Yes, come on.
Well, it was multiple sources. Well, first of all, Jeremy, it was multiple sources, as you know, since you thought that was a gotcha. It was multiple sources because what was his name? Minister Joseph. Hold on, Minister Joseph Goebbels. How do you pronounce that last name?
Goebbels, buddy.
Okay,
Goebbels.
so Goebbels. That's how you pronounce his name.
Goebbels,
Yes.
G-O-E-B-B.
Okay, hold on, Tim, because he asked me a question. I gave you a name of someone who wrote. He talked about low IQ specifically. Was I right or wrong, Jeremy?
Wrong.
Huh?
You know he ain't gonna say. You know he ain't gonna say you right.
Just get specific. Get specific here.
Well,
because
you asked me to cite a source. They're out of his teachings. What are you talking about? They're out of his writings.
What book?
I can't remember.
What?
I can't remember.
How convenient.
But wait a minute.
Convenient.
Did he write it or not?
He didn't write half of what you're talking about. He was a propagandist who said all sorts of horrible things about the Jews. I'll give you that. You can't name this because you didn't read it, did you?
Again, Jeremy.
When I find an evil ideology, I read it so I know what not to repeat in history.
And so it wasn't in Mein Kampf either?
I don't remember it ever being listed in there.
Oh, you don't remember? Did you read it?
Yes.
So wait, but so you should have remembered, right? If I'm using your logic.
Well, there's a better way of phrasing it. I don't think it's in there at all. Last time I checked, it's not in there.
Last time you checked, did the book change? I mean, is there a new version of it? I mean, this is just fucking Avengers of Star Wars. They didn't write a new version. What are you talking about?
That's funny, Tim. I know.
It was funny. What is it? Mein Kampf book 2? I mean, it was funny.
Yeah, the Sorcerer's Edition. What the fuck is he talking about? The bottom line is this. Tim.
Where you actually have to make
rhetoric. I am.
2 minutes, Mike.
Cool. The last time you can recall ICE doing anything wrong, you don't think that was going to slide past me. You brought up Alex Peretti. You don't know anything that's happened since then?
I don't pay. I'm not terminally online like you. I have a life.
Not either. I have a life too. In the last 3 weeks,
that's adorable.
They've unalived 3 people, and you don't know anything about it?
I don't know every news.
I didn't say every.
Of course I don't.
I didn't say every. I just said you don't know about the 3 that's happened recently.
No, I don't.
Okay, so maybe you should go study that and how those were reported that go right back to the point that I'm talking about. But you can get up here and tell us all the L's of Tim. The last time we talked, he brought that 1350 shit up, and he's proving my point right now. They know what's going on over there, but they don't know what's going on over there.
Yeah,
how is this possible?
Because the 1350 has been very, very, very common and well reported for multiple years on end. The thing you're talking about is recent current events.
No, the
I'm sorry? On the right they have been. It's been propaganda on the right. Because it's not even factual. Like I schooled your ass the last time.
No, you didn't.
Okay, you got it, Tim.
Yeah.
Hey, here's what I'm going to say before I go with what I said.
All right.
If we want to talk about the similarities with your background, Sal, as a proud American supremacist, what they're doing today, I didn't say you, I said his background.
Oh. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Words matter, sir. If we're going to align the 2 ideologies, it's very easy to do. And the fact that it's so easy to do, if it really bothered you, you would separate yourself from that. You would just
Well,
separate.
he is very wait, in defense of Jeremy. He is critical of Trump. He don't like Trump.
No, he is 100%. But he's falling back into this racist rhetoric shit. The last few times I've heard
I've said.
absolutely there is. Absolutely.
Okay, go ahead. Make it specific. Name it.
Well,
Name it
Jeremy, you were on here just the other day, talking about blacks are hardcore criminals. I mean, you were saying some pretty racist shit, and I told you then.
No. Don't misquote me. Don't misquote me.
I'm not quoting you. I'm quoting me. I told you then that out of all the times we talked that particular day, the shit you were saying was some of the racist shit I ever heard you say. I'm quoting me, not you. That's what I told you.
Okay,
It was the day I was on.
It's actually racist.
Okay.
Well, all the 1350 rhetoric, everything Charlie Kirk said was racist. Everything.
No.
This guy that you uplift, everything he said was racist. Everything he said was based on this propaganda.
Let's do a little.
All right, well, I got to move it on for Mike for time's sake. But Mike, you will be brought up. We'll end up talking again.
All right.
Okay, Tim, I'll do a little thought experiment with
And
you.
I want to, before you do, I want to tell you my own humble opinion. I do think in regards to, because I did probably about 10 lives on Charlie Kirk. And I'm willing to give folks the benefit of the doubt when I think they deserve it. I have not talked to one person, and I've talked to hundreds of folks on lives and on social media and in comment sections about Charlie Kirk. Everybody says he's being taken out of context. I have not talked to a single person that said, now that I listened to him in full, I changed my mind. Not one person has heard him and said, now the context has made me change my mind. There is no taking him out of context. What he is saying is what he is saying. Go.
Okay. And I'll admit to one thing that I did with Mike that I probably should have done. I was pretty passive aggressive. I should have just been more straightforward. But anyway, other than that, Tim, let me just make something absolutely clear. All right, let's do a little thought experiment here. What percent of murders are committed by men versus women?
I don't know, but I'm assuming men commit a hell of a lot more murders than women. We are more violent as a gender.
Yes, we are. Now, here's the thing. Unless you're using it to say men are inferior, is it sexist to bring up provable stats like that?
No, I don't think it is, but here's a difference in regards to blacks versus white, though. There are a lot of things that can change the stat. For instance, if I put, 10 times more police in your neighborhood than in my neighborhood, we're going to catch more police in your neighborhood, even if people in my neighborhood are committing the same amount of crimes, because there's just more police coverage in your neighborhood. If the people in your neighborhood are poorer than the people in my neighborhood, my people are going to get probation and fines, your people are going to get jail time. There's a whole lot more factors than just saying they commit more crime. No, there's a lot of governmental factors that's making it so that this poor, overly policed group of people is ending up incarcerated more than the other side. And I'm not trying to portray blacks as all walking around abiding by the law, but I am saying the way the law is designed, you're going to net more of them.
Okay. So Tim, let's think about this logically. Okay.
I thought I was.
The person bringing it up is racist, or does that mean that let's assume that what you said is true? That's the reason why, and it's not because there's an actual difference in how many black people actually commit crime.
Okay.
Let's just go with that.
I'm assuming because it is true.
Does that mean that they're racist? Does that mean that it's racist, or does that mean that they're just wrong?
Well, to me, it's a fine line. It can be a fine line sometimes between what is wrong and what is racist, because it can be a combination of both.
That can be true, but here's the thing, Tim. I don't believe that the average black person, because of their melanin in their skin, is going to go out and kill somebody. I don't believe that.
I don't either.
I never have. Okay? I think that culture has destroyed the black family, and the black family, because it's been destroyed, raises kids that are more likely to be violent.
Yeah, but a lot of that culture.
I think the average black person is a law-abiding citizen. It's just that.
Yeah, but where did that culture come from, though? Keep in mind that culture. When you go back to the 40s and 50s, right?
A lot of the government, and a very white supremacist government at the time, did that.
So in other words, what you're basically admitting then is that blacks of today are still suffering from what happened yesteryear. You're admitting that culture destroyed the nuclear family among blacks, and they're still paying for that today.
Yes, it's Tim. I'm willing to call bad behavior by our government, including very white supremacist behavior, of old, when it's actually accurate.
But if you're going around yelling 1350 and you know damn well there's a racist reason why that is, you're not being complete. Now you're admitting that 1350 may have something to do with white supremacy of yesteryear.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but Tim, that doesn't take away the fact that there's a reason why the black community has more violence than the white community on average when you take it into a per capita stat. When you take it into a per capita stat, it doesn't erase is the fact. It just means that white supremacy caused a lot of that. Now, my solution is we need to stop incentivizing broken families, and we need to start and we need to also remind black people that they are capable of doing a lot of amazing things. One of my favorite historical figures is a guy known as Elijah McCoy. Do you know about him?
No.
So a lot of the greatest inventions on Earth don't seem great because they might seem kind of like a part of a bigger machine, but sometimes they're the most important. He didn't invent the train. He didn't invent the wheel. He didn't invent the engine that powers trains. But there was a huge problem with trains for a long time, where the gears couldn't self-lubricate, so they would actually start in fire. And sometimes it would destroy the train and break it down really, really fast.
So what is your point? We're getting short on time, but give me the point of this.
The point of this is he made train travel a lot safer and a lot better for the majority of people going on trains. He's actually one of the greatest black engineers that ever lived, and I really admired him. Well,
I'll tell you another thing too. If all of the black engineers or black inventors and black creators and innovators, if they had got credit for all of their inventions and things like that, there would be a lot more generational wealth in the black community. Money obviously leads to a lot less crime when people don't have to go out and commit crime. A lot of that stuff that stifled the black community is also part of this 1350 argument. The only point I'm making is, even if the 1350 argument was true, not telling folks what the root cause of it is just basically racism. We're going to treat them like shit and then blame them for the outcome when we are the ones that caused it. To me, that's just being racist in itself. We know that 1350 has a lot more roots than the black culture just turning violent for no damn reason at all. We know that.
No, I know. Hey, Tim, the reason why I bring up 1350 in the first place is because you can't solve a problem if you're not willing to admit there is one.
Where the white community is not willing to admit they caused the 1350.
I'm willing to admit that.
You're alone in that. I gotta go, but you're alone in it. The white community is making it sound like nothing of the past has any effect on African Americans of today. They don't want to take account for anything that African Americans are going through today. They say that shit ended hundreds of years ago. So they have a difference of opinion than you.
Okay, well, can I end by saying this?
Make it happen.
Okay, so what I'm going to say is, unfortunately, the solution is going to have to be that some black people are just going to have to say, yeah, well, our homes are broken, but we have to be the difference, because unfortunately, that's just kind of just the reality.
Right.
But the thing is, I think that we shouldn't do anything more to make it worse for the black community. I think we should give the black community time to rebuild itself.
All right, fair enough. And I'll respond on the other side. Thank you. And I will say this, in regards to the ills of the black community, which wasn't what this live was going to be about, but I will say this. Some of the criticisms, the 1350 and always pointing out the ills of the black community, to me, my humble opinion, they're racist in nature. Because if you look at the progression of the black community since African Americans gained civil rights, and I am someone as a Gen Xer, I'm the first one in my own family tree to have civil rights from birth. My own mom didn't have that. Only me and my brothers. My mom and dad were born before that era. So this stuff is very recent. It's not hundreds of years ago, but I will say that if you look at the progression of the African American community, despite all of the bad press that 1350 shit you hear about, since the civil rights era, far more African Americans are graduating from high school. Far more African Americans are getting college and advanced degrees. There is now some developing generational wealth in the black community. Far more have managerial and professional positions. Far more are in politics. There's a whole lot of progression in the black community. But if you listen to folks that want to portray that community as a bunch of 1350s, you don't hear but none of the negative stuff. Every year, there are colleges that are almost 100% black handing out advanced degrees to black people. You will never see that on Fox News. You won't see Trump being any type of spokesperson at that shit. Every year that's happening. That wasn't happening before the civil rights era. That type of stuff was not happening anywhere near that level before the civil rights era. Yet they're making it sound like the African American community is actually getting worse. It's not. The money in the black community, the amount of businesses, small businesses being owned, all of that stuff is actually on an uptick. Yeah, there's crime in big cities, but it is actually on an uptick. It can be put on a graph and you can see, based on the civil rights era, when the African American community started doing better. If you would put on a graph the average amount African Americans were making, you can adjust it for inflation. The average education African Americans was getting. All of that stuff. If you put it on a graph from 1776 to 2026, you'll see clearly when the civil rights era happened. All of a sudden, they just started doing better. All of a sudden, they're getting more businesses now. They're graduating more. But the 1350 crowd don't talk about that stuff. They only find the ones that continue to do bad. So, yes, the 1350 argument, in my opinion, is racist significantly. Anyway, getting back to the actual topics of the show, though. Black women are the most educated in America. I've heard that. So there you go. But going back to the actual show, what does 1350 mean? The 1350 is a suggestion that black Americans only represent 13% of the population, but they are 50% of the incarcerated in this country. That's what 1350 is supposed to mean. So to suggest that the African American community is a much lower class and they can't stop committing crimes because they are overrepresented in penal institutions. They're also overrepresented in exonerations too, but you don't hear them cover that. Jeremy let the black community rebuild, no rep, says Jay said. Fair enough. Let me go back to the box. That's why they're trying so hard to hold blacks back, says Will. In fact, I just watched a video today that says even in the continent of Africa, now that they've gotten rid of colonialism, just like America got rid of the limitations on civil rights and black people are doing much better in this country, the nation of Africa, the infant mortality rate, the lifespan is still considerably low compared to other continents on earth. But even that continent, once they got rid of the colonialism and letting Britain run their countries and shit like that, they are starting to improve. More and more African nations are becoming wealthier and becoming more independent. It's not where first world European and American nations are, but it is improving. It takes time. You can't hold something back for centuries and expect the minute you stop for it to be normal. That's the expectations in America, is that, okay, the civil rights era, you got civil rights now. Why aren't you doing the same as we are? It's going to take time. It was done that way for a long time. It's not going to flip overnight, but you can clearly see it is flipping. In the comments, We the Rebels says, ever heard of the 80-20 rule? Yes, but that usually refers to dating and relationships. Let me go back to the box. We'll make it happen with East Side. Good evening. Help your boy out with the hat, mustache, TikTok cap goes, if you will. East Side. Good evening. Welcome to the program.
What's up, brother?
Not much at all. Deep in the trenches today. We went way off topic, but we're talking about
Yeah, that dude Jeremy, good lord. I ain't never in my life. That dude is a complete idiot.
Well, he has a difference of opinion.
Yeah, sometimes it's opinion, and sometimes it's just you just idiocracy too, you know.
Well, I'll tell you something though. In defense of Jerry, he took a much further swing to the right over the last few conversations than he used to be. He's always been conservative, and we don't have a problem with conservatives or even MAGA at all. But he's taken a much further turn to the right in recent conversations. I don't know why, but he has.
Yeah, the rhetoric is what it seems like he's going with. He's not trying to base it on anything that's truly factual. You know, that's all. But yeah, let's not even give that too much attention.
Fair enough. So we're talking about the notion that we as a nation may be behaving as American supremacists. President Trump said that Canada would not even survive without us. He's also said that NATO would fall apart without us. In other words, without America, the glue that holds all of the first world countries together would cease to exist, and countries would just break apart and be nothing. America is like the supreme nation that holds everything together. Are we behaving that way? Are we viewing ourselves as some kind of American supremacists? What say you?
Yes, yeah, we are, and I think at one point, when you look back, I think it was rightfully so. In that the world entrusted us, a lot of the European nations entrusted us to be that beacon that this is how it should be done.
They made a fucking mistake.
Yeah, well,
they made, and that's going. And I hate to say it, that's going to actually be corrected. I saw in the comments when Trump was talking about Canada would not survive without us. I saw Canadians in the comments like, "We will never forget this, America." They pissed the fuck off. They are pissed the fuck off that they let America take the lead, and we put somebody in there that has essentially said, "Fuck you."
Yeah, and that's what I was getting to is that they looked and said, no matter what, this is the country that will steer us in the right, will have the proper leadership. Even though sometimes, yeah, you can look at our history, but it is a history that seems to show that we overcome, right? Yeah. Like we got a history that says, yeah, this was bad, but at some point we always change. We always show you that there is always change. Anybody can change, right? Yeah. And I think the world looked at it and said, you know what? Because we started the presidency. Who else had a president prior to America? I remember.
That's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know.
It was just kings and queens.
Yeah, that's a good question.
What I'm saying? And dictators, whoever had the strongest military faction, they ruled. And then we come along and we said, no, the people are going to vote. We're going to do it this way. And we set up all these.
Well, we really weren't exactly doing that, though, Eastside. I mean, even though we claim to be a republic or a democracy or whatever, I mean, for the most part, it was just property-owning white males in this country that was part of the system where you could vote. Everybody else pretty much lived under a dictatorship.
Yes, and that you would be correct. But in time, we showed that we can
that's
change,
true.
right?
That's true.
And where others just weren't willing to, they said, these are the people, this is a good thing. And then capitalism, and we know and look at it, as young as we are, 250 years. You know what I'm saying? As far as the democracy, right? When you look at China, 5,000.
I don't even get, but like I told you, because most of this country, people of color, women, any foreigner, they all lived under democracy. Like I said, it was really only property-owning white males that lived under republics. So when you say we've only been a democracy for 250 years, I don't think it's even been that long. It's probably been less than 100 years.
Yeah, well, we truly every man and woman child has been free. That's what we're saying.
Yeah,
way less. Yeah, way less than 250 years. Yeah, but that's the thing. When you look at it, it's like, man, these guys, man, in this short amount of time, look what they've done. So I understand. And then we do this. We elect Trump, and we get a populace of our society that stands behind it, and the rest of the world is looking like, damn. Like, I didn't see this coming. Y'all usually the beacon.
Yeah, and that's what. And I'm going to end up asking you, how the hell do we get that relationship back? But before I do, in the comments, Due Influence says the United States is the reason no one invades Canada or Mexico. How do you respond to a comment like that? Are they dependent on America for security? In other words, if America disappeared, would Mexico and Canada have to worry about somebody coming in and invading them and taking them over?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so. Look, if that was the case, they would have had plenty of wars to talk about. I mean, there was a time that if they wanted, say, Mexico or Canada, they could have, 1901, 1920, right? They probably, somebody could have tried back then, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you 100%. To me, I believe statements like that, and I know a lot of Americans agree with do influence that, Canada and Mexico would not. I think to me it falls into the category of takes one to know one. And what I mean by that is the original colonists that invaded this country and did what they did to the natives and enslaved us and all that shit. Those folks or the descendants of those folks are looking at it like how they would treat a nation if they thought it was an easy mark and conquer it, and they expect everybody else to do that. So what they're saying is that if Canada didn't have the United States backing it, we know we would attack Canada and take their country over or attack Mexico. Right. So we expect everybody else to do it. No, it's just you see shit like that.
Yeah, and tech, because when you think about it, who has China been in conflict other than themselves?
Yeah.
Who else have they been in conflict?
Well, the Japanese, if you go back to World War II, they were invaded by the Japanese.
Okay, but look how far you got to go back.
Yeah.
Compared to our history.
Yeah. I mean, listen, and I agree with you. Listen, there's a lot of nations that are significantly weaker militarily than America, and they've been functioning for centuries. Every smaller nation is not. Every nation, for instance, most nations around the world are not part of some huge alliance like NATO, and they're not getting invaded. I mean, there's plenty of nations where this is not happening. So the idea that if you don't have America in this big, huge strategic alliance, somebody's going to come and take you over. There's plenty of evidence to suggest that's not true.
Yeah, I would say, and I guess we kind of go back to the 1350 Germany thing.
Yeah.
But it's true that most things happen by proximity. What the wars that we do see is nations that are proximity to each other. You know what I'm saying? Other than America.
America goes all over the world fighting with people.
Always going somewhere else, right? America's always going somewhere. But when you look around the world, you really say, what is it? Pakistan and India.
Yeah.
Proximity to each other.
Yep. China and Taiwan. China and Taiwan, Russia and Ukraine. You're right. You are right. It's true. Yeah. Iran and Iraq.
Yeah, and that's just to go with to go back to debunk his little 1350 that crimes happen because of the proximity of people that surround each other, and then like how you said, poverty. So the crimes are going to happen where there are the poor because they're trying to get money, they're trying to get wealth, they're trying to eat, survive. So again, as far as us, man, as a nation, we have got to. Just overall, we got to do better. We have got to start to realize that this man has led us down a road that has severed some historically great alliances that we had. I think I really believe, and I did agree. I agreed with him. Yes, if they're not putting their fair share in, then yes, that's something you should sit down and talk about. Talk about it. Have some sit downs, but you don't just start pointing fingers and throwing tomatoes.
Well, to me, even though there were NATO member nations that were not contributing as much of their GDP to defense as the original agreement was, to me, once Trump threatened to take Greenland, all credibility is lost. There's no legitimate reason for you to say some shit like that. Now you don't step up and just cross every line possible when you're starting to threaten NATO member nations.
Yeah, well, and then not only that, Cuba and Venezuela, all that was wrong. It's what Cuba. I really like what's going on because what state is Cuba in right now? I mean, 2 months ago they were pretty much going to the dark ages.
They're in a dilapidated state. The issue with Cuba. The issue with Cuba is they're really close to the United States. They run a totally different government, and they won't play ball with America. So you know how it is. If you don't do what we want, then we're going to find a reason to come over there and talk to you.
But that's insane. That's insane. Leave Iran alone, leave Cuba alone, leave Venezuela alone, leave Africa alone, and we would be all right. I think China is just, to me, I don't. Even though when you look back in the like when you go back to the 80s and you see what China was doing with their people, it was bad. It was bad.
Yeah.
But it seemed that they showed how they made a turn, right? Because I don't think if you talk to a 20-year-old Chinaman right now, say he's 20 years old, he doesn't have anything bad to really say about the government over it. I don't think they really,
Well, they've gotten rid of the one-child policy and some stuff. I mean, yeah, the Chinese government is treating their people somewhat better. I mean, I'm sure there's still problems, but at the same time in America, they see shit like George Floyd and stuff on TV, so they know we're not perfect either. I mean, for us to be complaining about other countries, there are plenty of citizens in this country. There's one of these deals going on right now in Madison, Wisconsin right now. Apparently, some cop got himself caught up in some drama. So it happens in this country as well.
Yeah, I just seen that. I just seen that about a couple hours ago. I Googled it because somebody had a TikTok and I thought it was, I said, is this AI? So I went to my chat GTP and they was like, yeah, this is what's going on. And I was like, dang. So yeah, man, we all, and that's everywhere. That's every single nation though. I've never seen a nation where the people at some point be like, no, we've had enough of this. We sick of this. Yeah. And they clash. It's just a part of it. You're going to have
I think the difference is, and you're right, there are atrocities and human rights abuses and violations on every nation on earth. But I think the difference is America tries to portray itself as morally superior, and we go around pointing out everybody's shit. Most other nations don't do that.
Definitely. That is definitely a problem. You throw rocks and then hide your hands is terrible. It's terrible.
That's a really good example of what we do too. Throw rocks and hide your hands. That's exactly what we do.
Terrible. That's nobody. Everybody on the planet Earth hates a hypocrite. Everybody hates a hypocrite. Nobody gets along and sits down with a hypocrite.
So then I'll ask you before I let you go, how do we undo this? I mean, we're ruining relationships with most of our allies, and yet Trump is speaking favorably of people we've never been allied with, like all of a sudden the Saudis now can have atomic energy, for instance, which I strongly believe could end up like an Iranian situation a generation or two down the line where we may fall out of favor with Saudi Arabia and start accusing them of using that nuclear material to make it weapons grade. Just like we're saying right now, Iran can't have a nuke. You could see a generation or two in the military. Our young girls and boys growing up now may end up fighting them in the future, as a president of the future is telling Saudis, you can never have a nuclear weapon. What Trump is doing is putting that as a possibility in the future. But I guess to some degree, what I'm asking is, how do we undo this stuff? We've ruined a lot of relationships under Trump really quickly.
Yes. If I really, and technically I don't have an answer, but I'm gonna say this: if this right here, if this today, right now, if what we're going through right now, and what we've seen within the last year and a half, if this don't teach us that at some point we have got to choose peace over war, we've got to choose empathy over greed. If we don't see that, I don't know what to say, because we were doomed.
We don't see that. Well, I can tell you with absolute certainty.
I don't know what to say. Well, I don't know what to say, because this right here should be the greatest example of what not to do. We have plenty of receipts of what we can do and what we should do. We know for a fact that if we tax the 1%, like how we used to, we know that we can do great and good things for the people in this country. We know that we can then start to slash interest rates and things of that nature, because the money goes up and the money comes back down, and it fluctuates through our citizens and us.
Well, they believe it, but the other side believes in trickle down, so they don't believe in giving the money to the poor. They believe in giving it to the wealthy, and they'll create jobs and all that. I got to move it on, but they believe in trickle down. You have it the other way.
Yeah, I think it's the dumbest logic in the world to take a bunch of people that do nothing but consume and consume and consume, and then all of a sudden believe. The logic is in the word trickle. You gather all of this and you're going to trickle down. Well, who wants a trickle? Just let it water. How about waterfall? Can we get that instead of trickle down? Can we get waterfall?
They're going to say that sounds like socialism. I gotta go east side, but they're going to say that sounds like socialism.
Right.
I appreciate it.
Right.
Thanks for coming through. Anytime.
Yeah.
Tap the screen. Billionaires and companies put their extra money in investments, not employees. Yeah, I don't subscribe to trickle down. I just don't, because there are a lot of businesses that are not going to use tax cuts or any additional wealth to do anything to benefit those below them. I mean, if you got a law firm, maybe you're happy with the amount of attorneys you have, the amount of paralegals, the amount of secretary. You may just be, I'm just going to take the money and go buy another sports car or buy another yacht. Everybody ain't going to expand because you give them extra money. So I don't subscribe to trickle down. The theory of trickle down is that if you give businesses and corporations more money, they're all going to be thinking, let's expand and hire more people. That's not always the case. Plenty of, especially among the small business world, there are a lot of people among the small business world that are happy with the business they have. I don't want to take on more workload, or this is good. I'm happy where I am. Everybody's not trying to expand. So for those folks, the money's just going to sit up in the bank somewhere, or they're going to use it to purchase a second home or remodel a kitchen or something. So I don't subscribe to trickle down. I do agree with what my last caller said, is that if the flow starts at the bottom, that all of that money is going to be in circulation. People who are living check to check, or entry level middle class, very little of their money is going to sit in the bank. Whereas at the top, a large portion of that may never get spent again. I keep bringing up President Trump because of all of the profit he's done since he's been president. That money ain't going to be spent. Trump made $2.2 billion in 2025. He ain't spending none of that. He's already infinitely wealthy before that. All of that money is going to sit. None of that would happen if it was at the bottom end of the scale. Like, think about how much money was spent on stimulus checks. All of that shit's been spent up because it went out to the average person. All of that shit's been spent. But the money that he's making, that's going to just sit there. That's not going to be spent at all. You think Trump is going to let that trickle down to the lesser, the poor? That ain't nothing trickling down out of that hand. Trump is making money off of all sorts of different businesses he has. Ain't none of that trickling down. So I want you to understand that. Ain't none of that money he's making, he's not expanding. Ain't none of that money he's making trickling down to any damn body. Looking in the comments, what relationships with that? What are you saying? We need to print out the shit that's going on in our prison. I'm not particularly cool on protecting criminals, but this is an inhumane. That's the problem, though. Who said that? Claudia? That's the problem. When you're in jail, nobody gives a shit about you. In fact, we are a very vengeful nation. And anytime you talk about improving the conditions in our penal facilities, that's exactly what they're going to say, which is what you knew already, is that they're going to say, I'm trying to help our prisoners. The response is going to be, well, what about the family that this person violated? Why should he have 3 square meals a day? Or why should he, live comfortably? What about the families he violated? We want revenge on that person. So it's pretty easy to treat folks that are incarcerated like shit, because that's kind of what the public wants. Think about any time somebody abuses a child or does something like that. Our society is hoping for that person to go into the institution and get harmed. We want bad stuff to happen to that person. We as a society, we're not really concerned with recidivism. We don't want those people to get better. We want people to stay in the system for as long as they can. I mean, even among the black community that often falls victim to this shit. Even the black community be hoping and wishing for bad shit to happen when people are incarcerated, wanting folks to be penalized for long periods of time. So you can get away with doing all kinds of inhumane shit to people in prison because the public really don't care about them. In the comments, Sassy Mo, thank you for the support. Tap the screen, get the likes on up to 75,000. Where with the hat and mustache TikTok cap goes, if you will. A lot of topics I brought on here. I'll put Charlie Kirk's words away because we don't want to. By the way, I keep a sheet of this shit. You know, Charlie Kirk never said anything. You know, and I got all sorts of quotes of his. And yeah, like I said to Jeremy earlier, ain't nobody took Charlie Kirk out of context. What he said is what he said. I ain't talked to nobody that said, you know, now that I heard the guy speak, I was wrong. Ain't nobody said that shit. What he said is what he said. But we're asking another question I want to run by you. And we talked about this at the beginning of the live, and I'll bring it back up now as some of the show has taken
artistry and power of Black communities.
Taking a different path than I originally talked about. But I played a clip that I think is worthy of discussing by Dan Abrams again. But before I do, Prime Minister, or better yet, the Premier of Ontario, sounding kind of strong in regards to President Trump and the way he's treating those Canadians.
Rolling over for Donald Trump. So that's what I believe in, standing up strong. You negotiate through strength. You don't negotiate through weakness, especially with President Trump.
How do you feel about...
We can't keep rolling over for Donald Trump. So that's what I believe in, standing up strong. You negotiate through strength. You don't negotiate through weakness, especially with President Trump.
How do you feel about this new Gordie Howe Bridge agreement, which will see Canada have to share revenues sooner than the original deal?
What I'm interested in is making sure goods get from U.S. to Canada and Canada to the U.S. More goods travel across the Ambassador Bridge than anywhere else in the entire country. Over $1 billion of goods two-way go back and forth. So we need to make sure Gordie Howe Bridge is open. I don't believe in one bridge having a monopoly, which I've had for years. But the good news is we're opening the bridge.
And that bridge is something. There's something about Windsor, Canada. There's a bridge that goes from Canada to the U.S. And there's been one bridge, I think it's the Ambassador Bridge. When I used to be an over-the-road driver, I remember the bridge, and America controls that. And I think America makes all the money off of that bridge. But a new bridge was built, and I believe Canadian dollars had a large, was a large backing of why it was built. And there was an agreement that the Canadians could charge a tax to collect back the money they spent building this bridge between the two nations. And that was fine until Trump came along. Trump has a relationship, I believe in. Now, I may not be totally correct about this. Somebody correct me if I'm right or if I'm wrong, but I believe President Trump has an association, a relationship with a businessman that owns that Ambassador Bridge, the one that we've been using all along that America owns. And that businessman does not want the competition of this Canadian bridge. And President Trump is going to do what President Trump does for his own friends and allies. And so he's been threatening the new bridge that Canada built and trying to prevent them now from being able to collect their money back that they spent building the bridge. He's now said that the Canadian bridge, half of the money that's for people going across that and paying tolls, has to come to the United States. That has never been the original agreement. From day one, when this bridge was built, Canadians were told the toll will give you your money back that's spent on the bridge. Trump comes along just like with the Iran deal. It's a stupid deal. We're going to throw that out. We're not going to honor that. So, look, one of the things I will say, absolutely certain beyond a shadow of a doubt, is Trump is proving that America has no credibility when it makes deals. Going forward, you have to look at the United States and ask, why should we trust you? President Trump has shown that all we need is for you to put in a leader that does not like a deal we make today, and he may just break it. Because Trump is breaking deals that we signed on the dotted line. So I got to say, he is ruining our credibility in terms of that. All while saying that Iran doesn't follow deals. We're doing the same thing. We're doing the same thing to allies. To actual allies, because make no mistake about it, threatening Greenland was clearly breaking a deal with NATO. Him threatening to take over Greenland, that breaks every deal in the book. So he has shown you cannot trust the United States. And I don't know how much pain we're going to deal with going forward with future administrations for him doing that. But fact is, they know our politics here, and they can see that our government, for the most part, is just letting Trump do that. Yeah, they may hear some of the likes of some of the Democrats that are preaching out against it, but for the most part, We have a government that's supposedly based on checks and balances, and they're letting him do this stuff. So you can understand how any foreign government may say he is breaking deals and his government agrees with it. They're letting him do it. They're not using their checks and balance system to stop him. They're actually on TV talking about how great he is. So I don't know how much damage this is going to do to us going forward, but I absolutely believe it will do quite a bit. Going back to the box, we'll make it happen with Mike, the boss. Good evening, Mike. Y'all took him out of context. Charlie Kirk only wanted more people in heaven. That's all he ever advocated for. Charlie Kirk talked about a whole lot of shit that wasn't just religious oriented. Mike, good evening.
What's happening again?
I don't know. We're taking Charlie Kirk out of context again. So, you know, when he went to, maybe he went to the pearly gates and they sent this ass to hell, and now his people are trying to tell St. Peter they took him out of context. I don't know.
Listen, man. Let me tell you, it's funny how when it comes to him, how the right is talking about all the conspiracies now. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
See,
they don't believe Tyler Robinson. They don't believe Tyler Robinson took his life.
Oh, you don't say. You mean Tyler Robinson didn't get a big ass Sharpie and write a paragraph on a bullet? You mean that didn't happen?
The government did.
You mean that really didn't happen to him?
He got his life was taken by the deep state.
Listen,
I'm just telling you.
Hey, these people will believe. It's sad. It's sad.
I agree with you, but I want to play a quick 20-some-odd-second clip for you. This is Dan Abrams. I'm sure you know him, Live PD. He's Good Morning America, News Nation. He's been all around, but I want you to hear this clip because this is something that the Democrat Party might need to be concerned with.
So if you are like me and you are a political moderate and independent, and I think many of you are, you can't just be focused on being angry at Donald Trump's extremism. You also have to be focused on A, the things the administration does right, and B, the things that Democrats are doing wrong.
Listen to this.
And I have to tell you, I am starting to think that the Democrats could end up blowing the midterm elections based on left-wing extremism. It's not the same. They don't have the kind of power that Donald Trump has, etc. But I'm going to be talking about that, excuse me, in conjunction with some...
So he's suggesting that the Democrats could be snatching defeat from the jaws of victory because they're propelling to the forefront a lot of extreme candidates. Now, you know who they're talking about. AOC, Mamdani, Ilhan Omar. These are the people they're talking about. Do you see any validity to what he's saying?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I do. I mean, I see validity to to what he's saying. And again, is that a possibility? Yes. And the reason it's a possibility because the right has mastered the art of deception, and targeting. And what I mean by taking that quote unquote far left ideology and saying it means something else than what it does. They've done it the entire time.
Are they taking Mamdani out of context?
Well, they no. Here's the thing: they can and they will.
Yeah.
They can and they will. They'll. It's like they did with DEIA and woke, right? They can take anything you say and say it means another thing. Just like they're talking about communism and socialism and communists and socialists, but they ignore the fact that Donald Trump admires communists, right? They don't talk about that part of his comments about communism and socialism and shit like that. So yeah, he's right. Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. Because here's the thing, Tim. It's hard to play, and if you notice what I'm going to say is true. Here's what the right does. They ignore all the things that the right does wrong, and they look for one thing that the left does wrong to paint the narrative that they're all the things they say they are. That makes sense?
No. Elaborate on that. Say that again. Elaborate on that.
I'm going to say it again. The right will ignore all the wrong things that their party does, that the Trump administration does. All the things that they voted against, they'll ignore. Okay. When they went in the booth, they didn't vote for these wars. Man, let me give you an example. Donald Trump tweeted the other day, or on True Social,
when he was doing all the counting, right? He did the Afghanistan war, how many years it was, and how many deaths, and he did all of that. Then he got to the bottom and said, Venezuela war.
He did say that. I saw that. I saw that. I saw that.
Now, have you heard anyone on the right even mention that shit?
No, he did call it a war with Venezuela. He said, nobody got hurt. Yeah, he did call it a war.
Right. All the things that Trump said during the campaign about the right and the Democrats and them, the minute Joe Biden said, use that garbage when he was talking about, then Joe Biden called us garbage, and that's all it took.
Same thing with Hillary Clinton. Same thing with Hillary Clinton with the island, the deplorables comment. Like, this dude been saying all kinds of shit. You got one insult from Hillary Clinton. You're trying to make it sound like that's equivalent. Yeah.
That's what they do. So the Democrats, the left has to navigate a different minefield than the right does, because they don't care. They'll step on it, lose a leg, and blame it on the left, even though they know that the right planted it. They don't care. And so the left always has to navigate that dynamic. But the reality is, what they're really dealing with, and I told you this from the very beginning, they're dealing with people that truly love this supremacist and this. They love this shit. They want it. And so all they need is one reason. All they need is one. That's it.
Well, and it's hard to argue, because that's what I titled the live stream. To me, it does seem like we're operating like we're American supremacists, where we're telling the whole world, fuck everybody. Now, Trump did say we were going to be nationalists, we were going to be America first. And I didn't favor that, but that would be understandable if you were going to stop, wasting money overseas and giving money to everybody else and actually focus on the welfare and benefit of American citizens. But the fact is, that's what he campaigned on, as you're pointing out, and he's not doing it because he got in there and everything he is doing is internationally related. Kind of what Marjorie Taylor Greene said. Like, you said no more of this stuff, and everything you're doing is international, and the American citizens are not benefiting at all. I mean, we're paying higher for groceries, gas, and everything. Like, it's everything but America first. You're talking about you're going to protect the citizens of Venezuela or protesters in Iran or Christians in Nigeria. When do the Americans come up to play?
Got them looking the other way. That's it. I'm telling you, Tim, they don't give a fuck about none of that. All they want to do is point the other way. This country is never, let's be honest, this country has never taken accountability for any atrocities that they've done.
Jeremy, after you talked to him, Jeremy admitted that, surprisingly enough. With the African American community, Jeremy even came around and said that's true.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they can say whatever they want. And even if you gave reparations to the Japanese after World War, the fact that they went about it the way they did tells you how they feel about other people of color and women. This country wants to bury their atrocities and point to other races and nationalities nuances.
But that's typical. I mean, that's typical. If the Germans had won World War II, the Holocaust would have never happened. They would have just told you them folks was, they refugees. We were at war. They fled Germany. They're probably happily living abroad somewhere. They would have had mass graves all over Germany that was loaded with Jews, and you would never saw them. Just like in America, we got mass graves all over this country of African Americans and former slaves that you don't know where they're at. They removed the markings and everything, just put a shopping mall on top of it. The Germans would have did the same thing if they had won and controlled the narrative.
This administration is trying to do the same thing, but they're starting with the historical references first because it's easier. They think it's less painful, right? We'll take down that monument. We'll take down the history of slavery over there. We'll take down the art exhibits.
What is the purpose of that, though? Because we got African Americans like myself that migrated overseas and shit, and I've shared stories. There are African Americans worldwide at this point. Taking down the history of what happened to African Americans in America is not going to stop that story. Because I was surprised when I went to Australia. They knew all about Martin Luther King. They knew all about the struggles. They knew all of that shit. They teach our history in their schools. So even if you remove that stuff, people know what happened here.
It's where I think that don't be so naive, Tim. It gives white America deniable plausibility.
If they didn't see it, even though they know they didn't see it, Jeremy just sat here and didn't know. He says he didn't know anything about the last 3 people that were unalived by ICE. He just told you that.
Yeah. Well, if you don't, I will, in defense of Jeremy, if you don't watch the news a lot, you won't know. I mean, you gotta, I mean, because that's not. Also, it depends on what kind of media you do watch. If you're watching Fox News, they're not telling you. They'll put Tom Homan on there and defend ICE all day long. But when ICE makes mistakes and mistreat people, and you got folks on camera with an ICE agent saying, if you scream, I'll take away your fucking voice and all the stuff like you've seen, Fox ain't gonna show that. So there is a lot of mistreatment by ICE that, depending on the media you watch, you'll never see it.
I don't disagree with you, but the majority of those people that are watching it exclusively, they're doing it. They're doing it willingly. They're not that fucking stupid, Tim.
Yeah.
Listen, people in this world, people like Jeremy or anyone that tells you they don't. But think about this. I want you to, when you go into spaces, I want you to do me a favor. This is for the 199 people that are listening. I want you to listen to how many right-wing conservatives profess that they don't know certain shit that's happening, but they can tell you everything that the left is doing.
Because that is what, like I said, their media. You'll see that in right-wing media circles. But if let's say a Caucasian person goes out and they're charged with 10 counts of pedophilia, that's not going to be on there. But if that same person committing that same crime happens to be black, it's on the network. So listen, and I know as somebody who watched Fox for 20 plus years, it started changing the way I viewed African Americans because it is so negative towards minorities.
Yes, and again, it's by design. So as a human being, you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of any network? Because here's the thing, they always talk about CNN and MSNBC and they're left-leaning. I can't recall ever any of those networks just running, reel after reel of white people bad, white people bad, white people bad. That's not their thing. No. They report.
Yeah, because most of the people that work at the network are white.
What I'm saying, the idea that here's the thing that I don't believe, and some people believe. I believe that shit is intentional. It gives you deniable plausibility. It allows you to say, "Oh, I don't know. I didn't hear what happened. What happened with Nolan Wells? They know all these things. They'll get up here. Then you ask them one thing, Travis Decker, or you give them another name. They don't know shit.
Yeah.
But they can tell you about Daniel Penny.
Yeah.
They can tell you.
Or Kyle Rittenhouse. Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point.
About that. But then when they talk about BLM, they can tell you about burning things. But when you give them a stat and say, out of the 2,000 BLM protests, only 4% were violent, then they'll tell you no, but they've done no research.
But that's exactly what I just said. Also, like in addition to going to Trump rallies, I've been to BLM protests, and yeah, you're right. The overwhelming majority, and I can't even stress that strongly. The overwhelming majority of BLM protests, there are no cities burning down. There are nobody collecting money to go out and buy houses and yachts or nothing. That stuff represents the extreme minority portion of anything going on with BLM. But on the right, you would think every BLM protest, they're collecting money to give to the leadership to squander, and everything's burning in the background.
Right, but 100%. But then when you ask them about these things, do you know about the Boogaloo Boys being involved? I don't know about that. How the fuck do you not know about that? Because that's why they want it, Tim. See, I'm convinced that they because here's the thing, if they admit to that, then they have to go dig deeper. They don't want to. When they try to demonize CRT, when they try to change if you look at some of the texts about Black history in Florida and Texas right now, that shit ain't the same.
Yeah.
They're trying to make slavery seem like it was, servitude, and then
Well, I got guests that come on here and tell me you should be proud you're in America. Otherwise you would still be in Africa with a bone in your nose, chasing down wild animals and shit. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people who do believe that the African American community, because we are the wealthiest, probably the most educated group of African Americans on the planet, because we're here, and they're saying that we should be grateful to the white man for bringing us here.
The funny thing is and again, they would have been easy and justified to say that if they had been human. But they're not, they weren't human. And that's the funny thing is, you guys want to be such Christians, but you show no humanity, and we have achieved in spite of your cruelty, not because of it. Yeah. Now I'm gonna say this: since it was 1780 to 1865, 1866, somewhere in there. Don't quote me on the time frame, but it's about 100 years of all of that free labor that helped build this country. $20 trillion of free labor is what this country got off the backs of our ancestors from chattel slavery. $20 trillion worth of labor. And then so just because, and if you look at the numbers, you say, okay, so a few of us were successful. Well, guess what? When you spray your house with rays, there will be some ants that get away.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Well, let's go back into the actual topic, though. I mean, I guess it's somewhat still on course because we're talking about proud American supremacists. Why is it that President Trump and a lot of MAGA do seem to think that without America, the world would fall apart? Like, we are so supreme, so necessary that without us, we are, as a country, the glue that holds the planet together. Why do you think that is?
What other message do they have, Tim? Listen, this is why I've been calling them mediocre from the beginning, and you were pushing back. I told you Donald Trump was mediocre from the beginning. Mediocrity breeds this kind of shit. So you have to sell yourself above something that you're doing, because people that are achieving, they don't have to say anything, they just achieve. But when you're not, you have to sell it. You got to sell it. And listen, some of the words that we were talking about when Jeremy was up here, their messaging, when they call us low IQ, like black folks, Straight Talks calls you low IQ. You don't think he understands what he alludes to when he says it?
Perhaps.
They minimize your intelligence to make them feel better. He has to bring you down beneath him to uplift himself. That man knows he can't compete with you on any level, Tim. Let's just be honest.
I don't know if he actually believes that. He may think he is superior to me. It's possible.
What else can he say? What else can he say? His ancestors would roll over in his grave if he conceded at any level that you were at or above where he was. The ancestors that were stringing people up in trees, they would, you know what they would call him?
N-word lover. An N-word lover?
Damn right. If he conceded any level of normalcy about you and him and your ability to communicate, it would shatter his existence.
But how about this one? Handsome Conservative makes an interesting point. He says, now he's referring to me and perhaps even you and many other African Americans alike. Says, you have achieved what you have achieved because you have been given the opportunity. What say you?
I say I've been, well, listen, I'm not going to say that's completely wrong or it's not completely right. But from the context and the position he's taking, that's where the racism shows, right? You see, like what he just said, he doesn't see the bigotry and racism in what he said. When he says give it by who? Give it by who? White America? Or did someone else give me an opportunity that I took advantage of?
I'm kind of like you. I don't think what Handsome Conservative said is totally wrong or right, but I would use a term, and I'm not even very religious, but I would use a term like blessed. Because fact is, I would replace given with blessed, that you are, what does it say? You've achieved what you've achieved because you have been blessed with the opportunity. The reason why I would use blessed as opposed to given is because it took a lot of fighting and dying to get where we are. It wasn't given. Folks went out and earned that shit. So I was blessed that my mom, dad, grandma, great-grandma, all of them went out, civil rights leaders went out and were willing to pay that heavy price for where I'm at today. But it wasn't given. People actually and there are plenty of whites that were called, as I said, called N-word lovers that died too. I mean, Bernie Sanders, we talk about Bernie Sanders, he got arrested standing up for people of color in the civil rights movement. So it wasn't given by any stretch of the imagination. It was earned at every single level. And some would argue it's still being earned today. So I think given is the wrong word I wouldn't use.
Absolutely. And what he doesn't understand, but what he just said was the leaders of this country most of MAGA, they don't like this progression. They don't like the fact that other minorities have been able to achieve a part of the quote-unquote American dream because they never intended it for anyone else other than white men. See, this is the lie. This is why it says proud American supremacists behind you. This is why they're aiming for that, because anything that minorities have achieved in this country was not part of their design. That's why they're pissed. We were supposed to just shut up and dribble, right? We were supposed to just shut up and dig, and shut up and pick, and shut up because the minute, and don't look over there. Don't look at that white woman. Don't drink out of that fountain. Don't walk on that side of the
You don't
street.
think all MAGA are that backwards of today, though, do you?
I do. And here's the thing, Tim. If you told me that you believe I was this thing that I was vehemently against, I would have a visceral reaction to you about it. How fucking dare you say, let me give you an example. Let me give you a perfect example. You're going to connect to this. This is what happened to me on Saturday on this app. We were having a conversation about the lady that shot that boy that was at her house.
Yeah, in the back. Yeah, the boyfriend that was over with the underage girl.
Yes, that one, right? That one, right?
Okay.
And I simply said, well, we have to talk to our children as well about the dangers of using an app and blah, blah, blah. And I do. Now, you would have thought that I said, well, hey, pussy is pussy. Because I got called every name. I got called a predator. They check his hard drive.
Listen, you know I tend to be fair on stuff like that, and I don't always side with African Americans because I believe that woman should be in prison. Look, I know your daughter brought home a guy. Your underage daughter brought home a guy that is a full grown, 20 years old, whatever the case may be. So what he is doing is a crime. But when you walked in the house, he gets up, he's leaving. You don't get to shoot him in the back. I mean, that woman to me should get. Look, I know people are pissed off that this guy was with her younger daughter, who invited him in the house, by the way, but she's a minor. She can't consent, so it's a crime. I'm with that. But you can't just murder the guy. And I'm getting hammered by the African American community, just like you were talking about, because I think she deserves to be held accountable for that. Last word to you. I do got to move it on, though.
I do too. I do too. And there's other people in the chat. They were there. When I say they were dragging me, and I'm not talking about people on the right. I'm talking about people on the left. And here's what I said. So, but what was my reaction, Tim? I'm like, look, if that's who y'all think that's who I am, fucking unfollow me. And I went ballistic. Because
guess what? Gotta stay in the ground.
But how visceral of a reaction have I had about other people that have been confirmed touching children? Right?
Very.
So my point is this. If people didn't want to be associated with that shit, then they would have a visceral reaction to do so, and they don't. They just turn the other way and they shut the fuck up. So you're not giving me any indication that ideology is significant in your life enough to push back.
And
so
I
have to
agree
put
with
you.
All right. Fair enough. I got to move it on. Thank you, Mike. And I will say this is something I often say, not to keep going down the path of racial stuff, but I will say this. I often say this all the time, is that I don't care if a guy is 90 years old. If he served in the U.S. military and you're burning a flag or something like that, he'll get up and try to kick your ass. In fact, there's a viral video floating around now of a Vietnam vet that was at a Chicago Cubs game that smacked a younger man in the back of the head because he wouldn't stand for the anthem. That's how proud folks are that fought for Old Glory. Now take the folks who often defend Old Glory against folks burning the flag, against liberals criticizing the flag, not standing for the flag. Take into consideration how folks who believe and stand for Old Glory defend Old Glory. I want you to compare that to the folks who defend the Confederate flag. You can walk down any street in the South preaching all sorts of fucking hatred while waving the Confederate flag. And all of those same people that defend that Confederate statue or defend that flag as their heritage and it's all about pride, They don't say nothing to those people about that at all. The KKK and most white supremacist groups have been flying the Confederate flag while preaching hate longer than any of us watching are alive. And I don't even know how old you are. I'm Gen X, and it's well before me. Back in the 1920s, you could see, photos of KKK members waving the Confederate flag. And they'll stand up and defend the statue, defend the stars and bars as their pride and heritage, but ignore people using it to preach hate right in front of them. Meanwhile, any U.S. veteran that's fought on behalf of Old Glory, they defend that. They don't let you just trash it like that. So it does leave one to reason. Maybe the folks who claim that it's about pride and heritage actually agree with those folks. They're not saying nothing to them. They'll show up if you say that the Confederate flag or the stars and bars was about racism. They'll show up and criticize you. But when somebody's waving it and actually preaching racism, they're nowhere to be found. That does require some explaining, because, like I said, they've been doing this our entire lifetime, standing in, city hall steps all over little small towns in America. A bunch of them meet, preach hate, and there is no sort of outcry from the defenders of the Confederate flag to be found. But the minute someone says a statue should go down or a flag shouldn't be displayed, you suddenly find them. So they know how to protest. They know when to show up to protest. They just don't see hate as a reason to do so. It's hard not to see that. In the comments, that's because when you don't stand for the American flag, you disrespect these soldiers that die. So what about when you preach hate while waving the Confederate flag? Are you disrespecting folks who claim it's about their pride and heritage? Or are you actually, in regards to preaching hate, doing what it's actually all about? Handsome conservative, I'd love to hear your answer to that. In the comments, I'm decades in and no hate crime towards any of my black family. Fair enough. Do I stand with ICE after and I got a poll going on right now. That question is, do you stand with ICE? Now, ICE has done just a ton of things wrong at this point for a law enforcement agency. Look, all law enforcement agencies have a few bad actors in them, as they call them, bad apples. But the amount of ICE agents that have been caught doing stuff wrong in such a short period of time, it is astonishing. And we know it ain't all been caught on body cam. We know every single claim of inhumane acts and murder and mistreatment that immigrants are crying out of. All of that shit ain't a lie. There's plenty of stuff they're complaining about that was not caught on video. And you got the likes of Kristi Noem or Tom Homan or Bovino all saying it didn't happen, or if they had just complied, it wouldn't have took place. We know all of that stuff ain't made up. All of it's not. So the fact is, ICE has done for a law enforcement agency, you would have to assume they're making it hard for anybody with a badge, because they are cops and they're getting caught doing that stuff. But anyway, I do have a poll going on right now, 140 respondents. Question being, do you stand with ICE? So far out of the 140, 29%, yes, we stand with ICE. 71% says no. So there you go, in regards to standing with ICE. We'll see how it progresses. I'll keep updating you. In the comments briefly, Trump fired over 80,000 from the Veterans Affairs. How the hell with wait times? Also, you're saying, Joe Buckley, that Trump fired 80,000 employees from the VA, and now the wait time at the VA has went up dramatically. Here's something I don't understand, and I'm really hoping it's not some. I've mentioned the word heist and grift before, but you're claiming to be saving a whole lot of money in America for the people to not be benefiting. I mean, whether we're talking about all the federal employees that Elon and Doge got rid of, whether we're talking about all the money we allegedly saved by not sending money to USAID, whether we're talking about all the money we allegedly saved by no longer helping the Ukraine. The fact is, the Trump administration is constantly bragging about how much money they're saving us. Yet the citizens of this country are doing worse. They're doing worse. There's no additional social programs to help out Americans in an America First economy. No, we're cutting the social programs that help Americans out too, in addition to all of the stuff we were doing overseas. So I mentioned the word heist and I mentioned the word grift, and I'm just going to tell you, based on what I've seen, it almost does look like they are saving American taxpayer money and keeping it. It just looks that way. I want to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But right now, they're saving tons of money, and they're the only ones bragging about how rich they're getting. So it sounds like they're saving American taxpayer dollars, and they're finding ways to keep that money for themselves. I really want to be wrong on that. In the comments, did you realize that none of the doctors or intern doctors actually work for the VA? Now they have doctors on staff, not on call. Well, Claudia, I'll say it like this. I trust the veterans. If he's made that big of a change to the VA, let me hear from all of the VA participants, the folks who use the Veterans Administration. Let's hear about how happy they are. Let's hear about how much better service has gotten. If what you're saying is true, if he fired 80,000 folks, you're saying none of those were doctors or intern doctors. I'm saying if he made that significant change, let's hear about how much the VA has improved. Let's listen to the veterans. We trust the veterans, right? If you don't hear them saying that, that's a problem. In the comments, I tap the screen. We'll go back to the box. We'll make it happen with Andy. Good evening, Andy. Welcome to the program. All of my doctors are gone, says Shirt 14. But is the service better? Did they put in more doctors of different type? That's what I'm saying. Did it get better? I don't know what happened to Andy, but we'll move on and we'll go with MAGA Reacts. No, you don't, because if you did, you would understand. What do you say? MAGA Reacts, good evening.
Tim, I got some new AirPods. How do I sound today?
Sound good.
All right, tell me if I start sounding like shit.
I got you.
Where do I start? First of all, you said you don't like trickle-down economics. You like it. You just want the government to do it. You don't want businesses to do it. You want the government to tax everybody, collect the money, and trickle it down to people.
Well, yeah. If I say I don't, well, the money's got to come from somewhere. So trickle down means the government, like under the right, they're constantly giving tax cuts to the wealthy. They're constantly reducing regulation, allowing the wealthy to use overseas labor and outsource. All of the benefits that the right does is government making financial profits for the upper class. I want them to do it for the lower people.
Honestly, I don't care who does it. I want the money just to stay in America, because that's the important part. That the money
not if it's sitting in the bank. No, I disagree. Like I mentioned, hold on, hang on. I mentioned President Trump making $2.2 billion in a single year. That money's in America. Most of it is probably. If it's sitting in the bank, it don't matter. It ain't doing nobody any good.
I mean, if it's sitting in an American bank, it's being lent to other people, first of all.
Yeah, the rich.
The thing is, you guys treat money like it's resource, like it's food. Like, it's sitting in the bank means that you're not going to get any. No, that doesn't matter if money's sitting in a bank. There's more money to be earned. That money sitting in the bank isn't doing anything. It's not hurting you. It's not helping you. I mean, it's probably helping you if the bank is lending it out to other people, but it's not taking away from you. How's it taking away from you? It's not like food. If we're on an island and there's like, if I'm keeping all the food in the bank, yeah, I'm keeping that food away from you. But money's not a resource. Money is an IOU. If I wrote
I would prefer
the paper,
I would
give it to you and you put it in the safe.
As opposed to the money being in the bank and you saying they're lending it out to people. I would rather that money be used for stuff like universal health care. Stuff that people need right now that doesn't come with a high interest loan or something. I would rather that, because that's something that benefits the public as a whole far more than the money sitting in the bank being loaned out to a handful of people.
But you don't get it though. That money,
I don't get it.
That money is not a resource. It's an IOU. It just, if I wrote you on a piece of paper an IOU and you put it in your pocket, I could still write somebody else an IOU and they could go spend it. As long as you guys don't all spend it at the same time, we'll be fine.
Call it what you want. Call it what you want.
Works.
Call it what you want. I still say I would rather those IOUs benefit the people at the bottom, not the top.
Okay, but one person having a bunch of IOUs in the bank and him not using it doesn't affect you from earning an IOU. It doesn't stop you from earning an IOU. Because in the end, the money is just a piece of paper. It's not food. It's not oil. It's not.
No, but it doesn't make my life better either. No, it doesn't stop me, but it doesn't make my life better. If you give the IOUs to the people at the bottom, it makes our lives better.
But you could do both. You could give it to the bottom and the top.
Well,
you
I'm
don't
not
have to take it away from the top to give it to the bottom. They're just fucking paper. The only problem is you have to have the right amount in the economy. Because
I don't see Trump doing anything for people. I don't see Trump doing anything for people at the bottom. Most of the stuff he has canceled and cut affects people at the bottom. I don't see him doing anything for folks at the bottom.
I mean, I see him try to keep the money in America and trying to bring more money to America, which is what matters. And that's the other thing about trickle down.
No, it doesn't. I just said I don't see Trump doing anything for people at the bottom, and you didn't have it. You didn't say he was. You just said bringing money to America. And listen, there's a ton of money.
Putting up tariffs.
Just bringing money to the hold on, hang on a second. Bringing money to the country don't say shit. Saudi Arabia has a lot of money in the country. That don't mean the average person is benefiting from it. The average Saudi Arabian is poor. I mean, just because the money's in the country don't say nothing. It may only be in the hands of a few people.
What do you mean? Everybody in Saudi Arabia is fucking rich.
No, they don't have anybody poor there. They don't have a working class at all, huh?
You don't know about Saudi Arabia.
Even Dubai has a large amount of poor people in it. And Dubai is a very wealthy country.
All right, well, that's a whole different subject. I want to say you're wrong on it, but I don't know for a fact.
Okay.
Anyway, my whole point is the problem isn't as long as the money is in America.
I just gave you my explanation on that. You can have money in Putin is one of the richest people on the planet. The average Russian is poor as fuck. So is Kim Jong-un. The average North Korean. Just because the money is in the country don't mean shit.
When I say it's in the country, I mean it's in the country's economy being spent.
I want it in the hands of the people. I want it in the hands of the average people.
If it's being spent, it's going to be spent and earned by businesses, by the people. Who do you think it's being spent on?
Yeah, we can disagree on that.
Same with like those rich people. Same with those rich people spending the money instead of on their business, on a watch or on a car or on a house. That money is going to go to the person that built the house and all his employees. The money being spent is always a good thing.
So you're saying if a wealthy person goes out and buys a Ferrari or something, that benefits the working class?
Yes, because people have to fucking put gas in the Ferrari, clean the Ferrari, change the tires on the Ferrari. How do you think the economy fucking works? I
would rather divide the cost of that Ferrari up amongst all the people that could benefit from it than letting that one guy have it and purchase oil changes and fuel. And by the way, a lot of Ferrari owners, that shit's sitting in the garage. They ain't even putting gas in it that often. It's just sitting in the fucking garage.
Okay, then we need to... That's the problem. We need things to be used. We need the money to be used, be spent. I don't care who spends it. Actually, I prefer people to spend it because they'll spend it on things in America versus, I don't know.
Who spends the most? Which group of people, the upper class or the lower class, is going to spend the most and keep things in the economy moving?
It's a balance. It's both. I want to say it's both. Probably
so equally? So the bottom and the top spend equally?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, to be honest.
If you don't know the answer to that question, why are we even having this conversation if you don't know that? You think Trump is going out? Trump is the upper class. You think he really spending a lot of money?
But if he's not spending the money, it's not really hurting or helping anyone.
Yeah,
it's just money in his bank. It's not keeping you from earning money because you can.
I didn't say nothing about keeping somebody from earning money. What I'm talking about is folks who are not earning a lot, needing social programs and shit. That money that's sitting up could help do by giving a lot of extra tax cuts and benefits and things to folks who let their money sit up, as opposed to doing it to people at the bottom. I think you're keeping money stagnant when it could be moving and helping the economy more.
Yeah, I just don't trust the government to do it right. The government will always fuck it up. Even if they do it right for a little bit, they'll eventually fuck it up. It'll end up going to Somalia. They'll send it to Somalia, or it'll end up getting wasted one way or another. Instead of going to the homeless, It'll go to the people who take it.
So who do you trust? Who do you trust?
I trust people. I trust people to spend their money. I want to give it to the people and have it spent by the people, not spent by the government.
Okay. I think that's
Even
crazy.
if they're rich or poor, I don't give a fuck. As long as it's being spent by people, that's how economy grows. You produce shit and people buy shit. But when you give it to the government, it just gets wasted.
Yeah. I don't think in regards to giving it to the government, if the government is actually letting it trickle down to the people, it's the people getting money, not the government.
Yeah, but the problem is it doesn't always work that way. It's usually getting to the wrong people in the most inefficient way, and it's getting wasted, and
I'll take that over what we're doing now. I would certainly rather take that type of environment over what we're doing now. I would rather take the risk that the government may not give all the money to the people that needs it versus what we're doing now where you have no universal health care. You see what's going on with tuition out of control. I would rather take the risk of what you're saying. To me, what we have now is worse.
No, but what we have now is the government fucking spending it. What we have now is the government loaning it out for colleges to people who don't need to use it. We have it being wasted on bad healthcare. It's just, whenever you just give out money like that, it just makes things more expensive. I think the government spending money on healthcare and colleges is what make colleges and healthcare super expensive. College was affordable.
Why isn't it like that in other countries, though? When you look at all the countries on the planet that have universal health care, why are all of these issues that people say, well, if you give universal health care, we're going to have all these problems? Why aren't those problems happening in other countries? Why are those countries not saying, the United States is right? Let's cut our people off of universal health care as well. None of them are buying into that.
Because they're tiny countries, Tim. You don't have a major country, a large country doing shit like that. Canada is not really that.
Then why not do it as why not do it as if you do it if each of the 50 states do it individually as a state, the tiny country argument goes out the window. Just like in Europe, each one of those nation states does it. Just about the entire whole of Europe. And it's just like America with 50 states. So they all individually do it. Then we can do it from state to state.
I prefer cutting regulations and making things more affordable. Yeah. It works way better than having the government run it. Eventually, the government's going to fuck it up because if they do a good job, they keep taking the money. If they do a bad job, they keep taking the money. I told you, like the whole message I sent you. If they do a good job, they do a good job. But if they do a bad job, they're going to raise your taxes and it's going to cost you more money and it's going to cost you more money until the government fails. Governments suck at running shit.
To me,
can't go out of business.
To me, it just seems like a failure to learn. You have other countries on the planet where you can look at and see examples of this stuff. And we always say, well, if we did the same thing here, it wouldn't work here. We like this other way of doing it, which is clearly not working. I use this in the gun debate all the time. There are plenty of other countries on the planet where kids don't go to school and get shot. What are they doing that we're not doing? Well, if we tried that here, it wouldn't work. So let's keep doing what we're doing so they keep getting shot. The same thing with healthcare. These countries are finding ways to give their citizens healthcare. All we come up with is excuses for why we cannot. And meanwhile, you keep having Americans pass away because we keep saying, well, we can't do what they're doing. It won't work here for some reason. I say at least give it a shot and try the shit.
We have given it a shot.
We have? When? When did we give it a shot?
With fucking Obamacare. We fucking subsidized healthcare left and right, and it just made it more expensive.
Obamacare is not how countries have universal healthcare. That ain't how universal healthcare works.
Listen, we know socialism doesn't work. It's a proven fact at this point. Because no matter what, a socialist system like if I have a hospital and I run the hospital like shit, the hospital's gonna go out of business. But if that government is running the hospital...
Why ain't that happening in these other countries, though? But I'm asking you, why is that not happening in these other countries? Why are they not going out of business?
Because they're tiny. You could run a hospital like shit and take care of a small amount of people. But when you start to take care of major populations, then that's where you're going to start having problems. And that's where you get inflation. That's what leads to inflation. A lot of government spending.
But that ignores the argument I made. Let's say the state of Florida does it. Florida as a state is not that fucking big compared to other European nations. In fact, there are plenty of European nations that have a greater population than Florida, and they're able to give their citizens universal health care. So why can't the state of Florida give its citizens universal health care? That tiny argument don't work like that.
Because eventually the wrong person's gonna get elected, and they're gonna.
Why ain't that happening in Europe?
The system. It is happening.
No, it's not.
Sometimes their healthcare is good. Sometimes it's shit. I can't really argue too much because I don't know how Europe does their shit and how they. I mean, I don't know how Europe works 100%.
To me,
so I can't tell you what's going on.
You say eventually the wrong person is going to get elected. To me, when you got a host of politicians that all say that people shouldn't get no health care at all, I think we already electing the wrong people. That's why we don't have health care for our citizens. To me, the wrong people already are elected.
But this is where you get shit wrong. That's not what we're saying. We're saying healthcare should be private. It should be the competition in healthcare, so you can get some cheap healthcare.
So if you have no job, how do you get healthcare? So if you have no job, what do you get? How do you buy cheap healthcare? If you're barely struggling to get a loan, let's say you can barely afford to pay rent and you're working 40 hours a week, how do you buy this cheap healthcare?
I mean, because it's gonna be so cheap, you can afford it with fucking money we lend you. Like,
what are you talking about?
And give them you can still give people money and have them spend it on fucking healthcare, but you just have, I don't know.
You don't know. I agree with that. I agree with that part. I agree with that part.
We produce. No, the problem is you're looking at it piece by piece. The whole economy has to work. We have to produce. And as we produce, shit will become fucking affordable. But if you do socialism, that production is going to go down.
I go back to my...
Because they're going to wait for the government to give it to them.
I go back to my original statement. There are countries that are doing this, and we keep saying for some strange reason it won't work here, yet it's working there. It can be done. They're demonstrating it can be done. We're just making excuses because we really don't want to fucking help them. They're showing you it can be done.
Well, what I've seen is when we gave money for colleges, the college got more expensive. It got super expensive. When we gave people welfare, it made their lives worse, right? Can we agree at that point?
So you're saying if a person is unemployed and they have nothing to eat and nowhere to stay, giving them welfare will make their life worse?
No, I mean, we gotta help them get work, or we gotta help them. Yeah, I'd rather use that money to help them work, give them a job to do, you know, and have them earn that money so they actually producing something. Don't just give it to them for free. Let them produce something, anything.
I don't even subscribe to that theory because your side of the aisle don't even want to. Even when people are willing to go out and put in an honest day's work, you're not offering to do nothing for them either. I don't want to give you a minimum wage increase. I don't want to make sure you're able to unionize. Your side don't even want to help the average working person either. All of the stuff that
bullshit.
All of the
we
stuff.
We want to cut their taxes so they have money to spend on whatever.
If a person is making 30, 40 grand a year, tax cuts ain't gonna fix the fucking world. Some people need a salary increase. You guys think that tax cuts, everything can be solved with a tax cut. There's real shit going on.
It can be solved by throwing money at it, Tim. That's not how it works. Throwing money at a problem just makes it more expensive. You have to solve the actual problem. You want cheap healthcare? Fucking train more doctors. Make healthcare cheaper by making it easier for doctors to do their job. Don't fucking just throw money at fucking insurance companies that are gonna fucking pocket it anyway.
Well, I'll tell you.
I'll
tell you before I'm moving on. America really, despite what I'm saying, America really is doing things your way, far closer to what you're saying, and it's getting worse. I mean, people are the lower class is doing worse. No, they're not. There's no universal health care. No, they actually doing it closer to your way. Trump is getting rid of most of the entitlements that are around. They're doing it your way.
Then Trump is a small little break on a system that can't be turned around. Every year, government gets bigger and bigger, and our budget gets big. What do you think our budget getting bigger is?
They're not helping the people at the bottom with that budget, though. A lot of that shit's going to the military and going to ICE and shit. Under Trump, the budget got much bigger. Tell me what went to people at the bottom. Nothing.
Who do you think the military hires? You think the fucking military is hiring millionaires?
That's what you're bringing up. You're bringing up soldiers. That's how you're helping the lower class by putting them in the military.
I mean, I know a lot of people that fucking changed their lives and fucking started a life just based on with that. Yeah,
I gotta
a lot of
move
people
it on.
that it helped.
I got
they joined the army when hit the wall and made a good living.
Join the military.
And
Okay.
they're still making good living.
All right. So somebody that's my age.
If I ever failed.
So somebody that's my age that's struggling. Your solution is for me to go out and join the military.
No, I mean we could find you something else to do. I mean,
Like
I
what?
want the government to give
Like
people
what?
jobs.
Like what?
You could sit on a computer and monitor Waymo cars. You know those fucking self-driving cars. I don't like them because they're not employing anyone. I think they should make a law where those cars have to be monitored by people, and you could get a job sitting on a computer watching a fucking Waymo or something. Anything. There's so many fucking. You got a job right now where you just sit at home and talk.
Bullshit. I got a real job that requires I drive 90 fucking miles a day. I'm at work all goddamn.
I know, but you make no money doing this.
And pennies, I couldn't survive off of this shit. Look at my TikTok cap and hat mustache goals right now. I'm not even, my TikTok cap go 1/5 of the fucking way. I'm not, no, I ain't making a lie. No, I'm not.
Don't trust the government. Look, you hate Trump, I hate Biden, yet you want to we both hate the we hate them both, right? You hate Biden, I hate Trump, right? So why do you want to give more money to this government to spend if we hated the last two presidents?
Because unlike you, I don't automatically think that all government is going to ruin stuff. I don't buy into that. I believe that there are people who work for the government that would do the right thing. I don't automatically assume the government's going to fuck everything up.
But you could get a Biden and you could get a Trump that fucks everything up. If you believe Biden fucked everything up, you can.
I would still rather give it a shot, MAGA. I would rather take the optimistic point of view than the pessimistic, like what you're doing. I would rather give it a shot.
I would love for it to work out, but there's always going to be someone that's going to fuck it up.
It's never going to work out if we have your view of, well, it's going to end up ruined, so let's not even try it. It'll never work out under that belief.
But people have tried it left and right. They've tried it in Venezuela. They've tried it all over.
Here in America.
We've tried it here. Look how big our government has gotten. What do you think that is?
I don't think our government has made a serious attempt at universal health care or college tuition or some of this shit we're talking. I don't think our government has made a serious attempt at any of this stuff.
Then you're not paying attention.
Okay. I'll end it there. Thank you for coming through. Tap the screen and thank some of you folks that did automatically start showing the program some love. Some of you folks did. I didn't get all of the names. Advent Comics, thank you very much. And Danny Dan, I appreciate that. Blue One Banks, as always, thank you very much. And going back to the box, I wanted to respond to a comment I saw on YouTube. Claudia, who's been busy, and thank you, Claudia. We don't agree on a lot, but appreciate your input. Claudia Basinger, I think it is. Kind of like Kim Basinger. Any way you look is good. Talk to someone who has come from those countries. Talk to someone from Canada, England, France. They'll tell you the same thing. They'll come to America for medical concerns if they can afford to. Yeah, I will say that if you got money, yeah, America's system may be great. We got really good medical professionals and everything. But what we're talking about is for the people that don't have money. The people that don't have money can't come to America for those treatments. The poor Canadians, the poor Europeans, they don't want to give up their universal health care and hope one day they make enough money to come to America and be treated. But yeah, you're right. If you got money, that's different. If you got money, the healthcare system in America is not that bad. But there's a whole lot of people, and I'm talking working class people, because everybody tends to believe nowadays that if you need help, you're sitting around eating bonbons all day. There's a lot of working class people that basically have no health care at all. And I believe under the big, beautiful bill, starting next year, that number is going to grow significantly. I do believe the number of uninsured Americans, because they did all kinds of finagling with with Obamacare. So Obamacare is not going to be as valuable to the poor as it was before Trump came along. I think Trump made a lot of cuts here and there. So folks who are, whatever your financial contribution is to the big beautiful bill, is going to be a lot more under Trump. And folks are opting out now, especially the younger crowd. Like, shit, I would rather just take the risk. I'm not sick and just not be insured at all. So I do believe under President Trump going in the next year, once the big beautiful bill provisions kick in, the number of uninsured in America is going to increase. It's going to increase. The government can't manage the VA and you want them to manage your healthcare system, says Bama Landscaper. Yeah, I do. I mean, if they can manage the police force, they can manage the military and all this other shit. Why all of a sudden when it comes to doing something for poor people, suddenly when they can't manage that, yeah, they can manage. Then you put you like you do with anything else. You keep going through government employees or government officials through elections until you find somebody that does a good job. I don't know what we brag about everything else. Trump is bragging that the damn country is the best it's ever been. We're in the Gilded Age. We're doing fantastic. Well, show me all of these fantastic government officials that can manage the healthcare system. If it is as fantastic as he's claiming, I don't know why when it comes to helping out the poor, suddenly the government's going to be doing a terrible job at that. I think that's bullshit. I think that's an excuse to just not do it. We the Rebel says pennies. Thank you. Nobody is stopping you from moving to the desert and starting a commie compound. I don't want to participate in it, says We the Rebel. I don't know what a commie compound is. And I don't think a lot of you folks know either. I mean, I'm hearing what qualifies as communism or socialism as far as the right is concerned. I mean, to me, if somebody asks you, can you spare $1 on the street and you hand them $1, the right sees that as socialism. Running a socialist government, there's all kinds of other avenues that it entails other than just making sure the citizens have health care. Because if you look at granting citizens universal health care as socialism, then that means most of the world is socialist. Most of the free world and the developing world, the citizens get some form of universal health care. In fact, I meant to put it on the screen, but I'll end up doing it in a future live. But there's a map of the world that shows you which countries give their citizens universal health care. It's far more countries that provide health care for their citizens than that do not. Most of the countries on earth, certainly the ones that are developing in first world, they do give their citizens some form of health care. And as you guys keep pushing with the government, you can't trust them. Okay, I mean, the government doesn't do everything perfect, but if I'm faced with not having any health care at all versus poorly mismanaged health care, I'm going to go with the poorly mismanaged shit. I mean, we're talking about people who have nothing. Well, there's going to be long lines like they do in Canada. This person has nothing. So it's still better than that. This person, we're forgetting people who have nothing at all. It's still better than that. I'm all for reduced free health care as long as it's not like Canada's. How about give it a shot? And as I said, if government officials are doing a poor job, go get your boy Elon and fire the ones that's doing a bad job for performance like he did with all the other federal workers and put in somebody that does a better job. Same thing every election cycle. Eventually, it will become ran more efficiently. I mean, the idea, well, I'm going to throw my hands in the air because nobody will ever be able to do it right. That's bullshit. That's just making up an excuse not to do it. It can be done right. It just, you got to actually want to do it first. And that's what I'm hearing is people who just don't want to do it and they're making up excuses to do that. Gun rights as a human right, full stop. I don't know where gun rights came in at though. Order your medicines from India, you'll get almost a 95% discount. Yeah, but if something go wrong, you just perish. I mean, it's going to be kind of hard to get any accountability out of India. Do I stand with ICE after they hired a man with mental illness and a history of violent crime, including beating his wife and kids, gave him a gun and pointed him towards innocents? No, says Caleb. You know, before I go to the next caller, that is a problem. ICE is apparently hiring a lot of folks that are not qualified to do that job. Folks with bad, with prior records in criminal history and things like that, mental illness. Now this person is talking about the officer up in Maine that once again, they keep using this, well, they were trying to run me over, which justifies killing people. It's kind of like when a cop says, I fear for my life. So that just gives them wide leeway to kill people. ICE apparently is starting to use the excuse, well, they were driving toward me. To me, it almost sounds like, and I hope I'm wrong here, but it almost sounds like somebody gave them a pep talk and told them, don't worry about getting in trouble. You can do anything you want to these fuckers that you want. They're not even citizens, for God's sakes. Go out there and have some fun. Let off some steam. To me, that's what it almost sounds like with ICE, is that you got some of the powers that be, maybe some of their local lieutenants and local bosses that are telling them shit like that. Just go out there and do what you want. Have a little bit of fun at it. Make these fuckers pay. They should have thought about this before coming in this country. Go make these fuckers pay. Let's teach them a lesson. Send them home missing a limb or two. Make some of them cry back at home. That way they'll know not to send anybody else. That's what it sounds like. That's what it looks like, is that it's being done to teach them a lesson. And I'm amazed at how many folks, when they see individuals going through great hardship, oftentimes losing their lives or being beaten by ICE, in the comments, this is what I voted for. Yum, yum. This is what, folks are salivating at that shit. Anyway, going back to the box, they deleted the bad police website. Yep, they did. Took down the one that was keeping track of bad officers. That absolutely did happen. Going back to the box, I'll go to one of my subscribers. We got a few of those still. Travelman, good evening. Welcome to the show. All those politicians not complaining about their socialism healthcare. True. Socialism is bad until they do it in your favor, and then all of a sudden they're okay with it. Travelman, good evening.
Man, sometimes MAGA reacts make you sit there and say, this guy really can't be saying this stupid shit.
What did he say to make you say that?
The whole damn conversation, man. The part about why people join the military. That was just a stuck on.
Well, but wait a minute. Some folks, the military does
not in the context he was talking to him.
What do you mean?
When he was talking about the trickle down and
Yeah, no, that was crazy. Yeah, that was
That's what I'm talking about.
That was not.
You had somebody, people get on this socialism and all this BS, and they tend to forget that the U.S. government has been buying into companies and setting terms as far as what they can do and what products they can sell to different companies. They did it with NVIDIA. They messing around with Intel. They got involved with the Nippon Steel purchase, right? But I don't see anybody hollering about that.
No.
And socialism, isn't we more along the line of a corporatocracy? Because corporations right now are pretty much running this freaking country.
Yep.
That's
what I told him. I said, despite what I'm saying, the country really is being ran closer to what you want, not what I want. The socialism thing is something the right throws out there, but for the most part, there's not a lot of programs that help out the poor. The few that are there, they're constantly finding ways to cut it.
Yeah. And the companies that they have actually took a stake in, I think it was NVIDIA, where they're allowing them to sell Kuwait, I think it is, high-end chips. One of the countries that they donated or bought a lot of crypto stuff, and then next thing you know, they turn around and they're getting these high-powered chips that they're not supposed to be getting.
Oh.
So this is the kind of stuff that's going on with that, And so, people kill me. See, they are so used to saying communism and socialism, and 90% of them don't even know what the hell it is. Okay.
Yeah, I've said this because you hear a lot of folks on the right say that the word racism is losing its value because the Democrats throw it around so damn much. And I've started to say, well, you're doing the same with communism and socialism at this point. Like, every fucking Democrat running for office is not a communist or a socialist. Like, you're calling everybody that. So you don't want everybody branding your whole side as racist or homophobes, but you have no problem doing the exact same thing to the Democrats. Every fucking Democrat is not a socialist.
90% of the Democrats that have ran in the elections this year, that's won, are not democratic socialists. They are more.
I think most. Yeah, I think it would be hard. You would be hard pressed to come up with 5 politicians that are publicly referring to themselves as a communist or a socialist. I mean, you could say Bernie Sanders and obviously Mamdani. I suppose. Yeah. After that, it gets dark. I mean, AOC, Elizabeth Warren, is she in there?
Yeah. And then you got the new one. I think it's about 3 that's won so far.
And them are unknown. Number 3 people who are rising, they're kind of unknown at this point.
But see, the Republicans are very good at that. Remember when AOC, when she first won, they tried to make, she was the face of the Democratic Party, right? And she was out there. But see, remember MTG when she was out there talking all that crazy talk? The Democrats did not make her the face of the Republican.
The Democrats. This is where the Republicans, maybe are playing chess and the Democrats are playing checkers, is because the Democrats are not good with branding and the insults and stuff. I mean, they're learning it. Gavin Newsom had a publicist that was doing a good job with it a little bit. Hell, the Iranians with the Lego videos are better at it. The Democrats are not that good at that.
They've never been good at it, and just like I don't know if you saw it yesterday or the day before. They're on the ID thing, right? About the voting, and they were saying you can't go to Olive Garden and get the.
I saw that.
But and every last one of them that came up, they all said the same thing. Tim. That's what they do.
It's like the obliterated thing. I had never heard the word obliterated used so damn much. Trump said we obliterated Iran.
Exactly.
And everybody using the exact same word. Like, goddamn, can you just come out and say Trump told me this?
Yeah. And everything, whatever Trump said, I'm telling you, I've said it before, head up Trump's ass syndrome is affecting a lot of people in this country. Whatever he says, you can bet cash money within an hour or 2, it's going to run rampant through the Republican Party like a bad case of diarrhea. I can guarantee it.
He's a great man to be able to do this. So let me ask you in regards to the actual topic of the show. Do you see us actually behaving like American supremacists, where we're thinking that the whole world revolves around us?
Tim, you don't even have to look hard for that. Listen to what they're saying. Look at what they're doing. Trump wants to go down as the most powerful man in the history of the world. And that's how he's trying to move.
He's already there, is he not?
Yeah, but he's set because when you look at the other guys in history, they did not have the army, the military like he has. So when you control the most powerful military in the world, in the history of the world, this is what you get. So now we went down to Venezuela. We unaliving boats in the Caribbean and also in the Eastern Pacific. We're over here talking about taking a sovereign country. We pretty much, and I've said it before, the Middle East is.
I want to ask you about that. Yeah, but you being military, I want to ask you about that because now Trump is apparently making this deal with something with the Saudis that will allow them to, I suppose, enrich uranium or use nuclear power for energy to run their country. And I'm going to say right off the bat, considering they're one of the largest producers of oil, I don't know why they need nuclear shit, but they are going to allegedly, if they get their way with Trump, be able to use nuclear power to, run energy for their country. What I'm asking is this: what are the chances that in the future our men and women in uniform maybe a generation or two down the line, may find themselves in a military conflict with the nation of Saudi Arabia because their president at that time is claiming that the Saudis are trying to enrich that shit to weapons grade.
That's a possibility. Especially if you got the chicken hawks and the neocons running around, then there's a possibility that could happen. But at the same time, there's also the possibility that you could unleash a nuclear arms race in the Middle East.
That's what, you know, I hate to say this, which may sound unpatriotic to some, but I kind of want that shit, man, because I actually believe the planet would be a calmer place. Unlike, listen, I believe in I go with the argument that the Second Amendment folks make, which is an armed society is a polite society, meaning that if you have protection, people are less likely to fuck with you because they know you can defend yourself. We're constantly fucking with non-nuclear nations. The minute North Korea got their hands on protection, we left North Korea alone. We don't mess with Pakistan. We don't mess with Turkey and a host of other Middle Eastern nations. To me, if they all got their hands on some kind of power like that, what happened to mutually assured destruction? That's why we in Russia didn't go into. So maybe that's what the planet needs.
That's what I was just getting ready to say. What happened when North Korea got it? They left them alone. Yeah. And everybody keep talking about, well, if Iran get a nuclear, it's called mutual assured destruction. It's been around ever since the USSR and the US started going into the SALT agreements and those strategic agreements they were going into. So Trump, to me, this is like a deflection, okay? Because there's a possibility that what's going on over in the Middle East could expand. We already into the Red Sea. Now the Houthis are now in it. And by the way, Trump is talking about for every ship they strike in the Strait of Hormuz, he is going to go after a power plant or a bridge. And you know, most of the people crossing bridges and working at power plants are not military. So now we're talking about killing civilians. Legit strategy, do you think, or war crime? War crime. That's in the what they call it, the war. I forget the name, but that's going against the Geneva Convention. And then not only that, if they do that, there is a very high probability that Iran will hit the desalination plants in some of the Gulf states. And those Gulf states rely on the desalination plants more than Iran does. Dubai, 90% of their water comes through desalination. Kuwait.
So make them start dying of dehydration. And in the comments, Jay Sid says MAGA reacts gets off to watching ICE shootings. MAGA reacts you in the comments. Is that true?
You know,
oh my God.
But you know, and it's like people are kind of I'm not gonna say distracted, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of, besides even in Congress seeing some pushback. But people need to realize this thing has moved over to the Red Sea, right?
Yep. It's expanding.
In order to get out of the Red Sea, you got to go through the Suez Canal, okay, to get into the Mediterranean. Which is hey man, if you ever get a chance to go through the Suez Canal, it is something else to see. Okay, you got Egypt on one side and Israel or whatever on the other side. It's something else to see if you get a chance to go through that.
So what are we looking at? $7 gas?
Well, they already disabled 2 tankers in the Red Sea. So when are the other ships gonna say, hey, you know what? This is getting too dangerous. We're gonna park, just like they did over in the Gulf over there. You know,
yeah, they're gonna have to find a way. Eventually, just like with Trump imposing all these tariffs on all these countries, you're going to start finding a way to do business around the United States. They're going to have to start finding ways to do business around those straits. I mean, because at any given time, this can't, just like America has shown, at any given time, we can put a leader in there that fucks you up with terrorists in the future. So you need to be prepared. They've shown us they can shut these straits down at any given time. So you're going to have to come up with some future ways of doing this that goes around the drama they're talking about.
But Tim, look how much damage, look how much this dude has wreaked havoc around the world.
he haven't just wreaked havoc in the United States. He's wreaked havoc around the freaking world. This is what the United States is doing right now. You want to talk about American supremacists? Look at what they're doing.
Yeah.
Look at what they did to the country. 18 ain't been 2 years. Look at what they did to the country. Look when they came in with Doge and jacked everything up. Look how all the cuts they did with people that's going starting in January when that bill actually everything from that bill actually kicks in because that's how they did it so it would kick in after the elections. Look what they did with that. They bent the farmers over 3 times with no Vaseline. And they still voting for
yeah,
them.
healthcare. From what I hear, healthcare is going to be really hit hard.
Healthcare going to be a mess. I mean,
so what are they? So do you agree with me? You know, and I hate that I have to say, you know, I'm talking about potential heist and grifting or whatever. But to me, it sounds like the Trump administration is saving the taxpayers a whole bunch of money and keeping it because they're bragging about saving money with Doge and USAID and all this stuff. And the situation for the average American is getting no better. So where the hell's all this money going?
Well, for one thing, there isn't any. There's not savings. Doge didn't save shit. What, $20 billion or something? That's a drop in the bucket.
Well, they claim it was. Well, they lied and said it was much higher than that, though.
But they lying. Everybody know that. So, well, I mean, where are the savings? They haven't. Nobody has put no receipts up. Where are the savings besides what they're doing with Medicaid and Medicare and SNAP? Now that's affecting people. You know, and then like you say, people get ready to lose health insurance, which I'm glad. I use the VA. I have Medicare in the VA, but somebody was talking about down there. The government can't. Somebody say the government can't run the VA, but we want them to do. You know what? That's the problem. The government built the freeway systems. The government built the space shuttle. The government built mainframes and all the others. The government built a lot of stuff. I go to the VA all the time. I don't have a problem with the VA.
Government sent the man. The government sent the man to the moon. I don't know. All of a sudden, when they come to helping poor people, suddenly they're gonna be inefficient.
Because you know, so anytime there's anything to do with helping the people, okay, the government screws it up and it's socialism. You know, because that's what they do. But like I said, I know all of my buddies go to the VA. The VA is the largest healthcare system in the United States. So yes, it's not 100% perfect. So you're gonna have some problems, okay? Just like you got problems at GM, Amazon, and anywhere else. But they have top-notch surgeons and doctors. And yes, they didn't cut 80,000. They cut, I think it was 20,000 is what they actually cut, okay? Which is kind of jacked up considering you got more people coming into the VA.
But what was the goal of the Trump administration with Elon Musk and even the Kennedy guy? What was the goal of just slashing and cutting federal programs and federal employees? And I mean, everything from the Department of Education to the EPA to the IRS. What is the goal of just chopping all of this shit up?
Because they want to privatize all this stuff, man. You know, a lot of.
But that's what I'm saying. You're saving money in pocket because they're obviously gonna pocket money off of the privatization. That's what I'm saying. They save.
And not only that, when they privatize or even when they go to contractors cost a lot of money. If you got a contract with the government, contractors cost a lot of money. Okay, but anything that you want to do, socialism. They call it socialism. If you want to have universal daycare, right? They call that socialism. Because you're doing something for the people.
Yep.
But it's only like 3 industrialized countries that do not have universal health care.
Yeah.
Or universal kindergarten. Or
anytime somebody suggested helping people out with some type of entitlement program in socialism, just ask them, name me another capitalist country on earth. Because you're not going to name another capitalist country on earth that does not do that stuff.
Well, and of course, we have this our egos are so big that we look down on every other country. You know, Canadians come here for healthcare. You're talking about 40,000 Canadians a year that may come down here. And a lot of those, and the only time that increase is when you go down to Arizona, Texas, and it might be California, where the snowbirds come down, which they're not coming now because they so pissed off at the U.S., they have told the U.S., we will not forget what you guys are doing to us. So now they not coming down.
Can we before I move it on from you, can we apologize, or how do we undo? Because we've ruined it ain't just Canada. We've ruined a lot of relationships. How do we undo this?
It's gonna take years. It's gonna take years. We have broken a trust, and it's not only going to cost us in relationships. It's going to cost us in business. I.e., like we were saying the other night, you got the European Union, you got NATO, you got these countries are starting to upgrade their military and their military industrial complex, and now they're starting to buy weapons from other countries. Yeah. It's already been, I think, a 30 or 40% drop in weapon purchases between Europe and the U.S. You know who that affects? That affects the guys at Raytheon and the guys that go in every day that's building all those weapon systems that they were sending over to Ukraine, because 60% of the money that we supposedly gave Ukraine, actually stayed in the United States restocking our weapons, which Mango Maniac blew up over in Iran, and that's going to take us years to replenish those weapon systems that we using over in Iran. We are in excuse my French, a fucked up situation right now. And it's going to take us years to recover from it militarily and economically and also internationally.
Well, as they say, the original goal was to make America great again. I got to move it on, Travelman.
They did that all right.
I appreciate you. Thanks for coming through. Tap the screen, by the way, folks. Anytime. Get the likes on up to 130,000. In the comments, do I stay? Oh, I saw that already. And I seen Bama Landscaper. I wanted to respond to one of your comments. You said just turn that sandbox into glass. Now, he's referring to the nation of Iran. So when he's saying turn it into glass, he's meaning to use a nuclear weapon on the nation of Iran. Here's the hypocrisy in this. We went to war with Iran to prevent them from getting a nuclear bomb and doing something irresponsible with it. And so we're going to solve that by using our nuclear bombs to do something irresponsible to them. I tell you, when I say American supremacists, it's crazy how we talk about their terrorists. We talk about how they can't be trusted. We're doing terroristic shit to Cuba, Venezuela, Greenland, Iran, and a host of other countries. But we're calling them terrorists. We're saying that they don't honor deals while we're breaking deals. I mean, it literally is a classic case of our shit don't stink. We're doing all the stuff we're accusing them of. I just want to say, in my opinion, America right now is behaving like one of the biggest terrorist outfits on earth. We're going around terrorizing and scaring the shit out of people. And many of them are even Americans. You think about how many folks are hiding in attics right now, filling up their diary like they're Anne Frank with stories about ICE. The Trump administration is literally one of terror. I don't think there's any other way to look at it. Now, if being a orchestrator of terror is making America great again, then I get it. Because that's what a lot of folks were saying, is that, yeah, he's being harsh or whatever, but this is what you got to do to make America great again. Okay, fair enough. But you are terrorizing people. Alligator Alcatraz, that is absolutely a center for terror. Sending people to CCOT, you're terrorizing people if you got that over their head. Deporting people to Africa that have no experience with the continent at all. That's terrorizing people. You're terrorizing the shit out of people. Well, we want to teach them a lesson so they'll not enter the country again. It's literally like saying you catch a kid in the store or in the gas station stealing a bag of potato chips and you chop off his hand. That way, when he go to school missing a hand, it'll let the other kids know not to do it. That's kind of the attitude that we've kind of taken. Be really harsh, really draconian, and hopefully that is incentive to other folks not to do it. Nobody went to the moon. That was on a stage. It was not real. Come on, handsome conservative. You trying to tell me the moon landing wasn't real? All right. By the way, the ongoing poll, do you stand with ICE? 359, almost 300, well over 300 and 300 respondents so far. 359 folks have responded. Kind of still in the same percentage range. 34% say yes, they stand with ICE. 66% say no. So it's kind of still like, and that tends to happen. Most of my polls that have a question that one of the answers is kind of pro-Trump, that answer usually hovers in the 30 to 35% range. If I said, do you stand with Trump? Or is Trump the best president ever? Or do you think Trump is doing a great job? It's probably going to be right in that range somewhere. Because I think that's about the amount of MAGA voters as well. I think MAGA represents about 30% of the voters. But I like that here because it shows I do have some MAGA viewers that come through, and I appreciate that. Looking in the comments real quick before we continue on. All countries in world are socialists by their definition. Jay said, yes. By the definition of the right, just about every country on the planet is a socialist country. That is true. That is absolutely true. Because if giving your citizen universal health care or daycare assistance or tuition is socialist, yeah, most countries on the planet do that. To me, I favor it for a number of reasons. One being, a healthier country is a more productive country. Why wouldn't you want your own citizens healthier? I mean, you want people to go to work and all this other shit, right? You want them to produce. If they're not choosing between medicine and doctor's visits over food, it just seemed like it would make for a better, happier country. I just, as opposed to saying, well, we shouldn't stop this dude from making $1 trillion. He earned it. We're defending that guy, but the person that need health care, well, I don't know. To me, I think it's crazy. Expose those racists, says Mark. Okay, thank you, Mark, for the support, by the way. Liberals cried about Trump during Biden's whole term. True, because Trump didn't go anywhere. You notice, liberals had a lot to say about George W. Bush in the Iraq War. They didn't cry about George W. Bush during Obama's term, though, because George W. Bush took a back seat. Trump was all out there holding rallies and saying all kinds of negative shit about Biden throughout his presidency. And so, yeah, the liberals were crying. They were going back and forth with each other. I mean, that's what was happening. The liberals were not just sitting there arguing at Trump without Trump saying anything back. Trump was saying all kinds of shit. He's still doing it. He's still criticizing Biden, and Biden is damn near dead. Not to mention all the people Trump still continues to criticize that are dead. So, yeah, of course. Anyway, looking in the comments, why do you have to be a doctor to see what's going on in this world? I'm not a doctor and I see what's wrong. Fair point. All is coming. That is the new world. Make your money now. I mean, it depends on what you count as money. It may not be relevant anymore. Anyway, let me go back to the box.